when it comes to the mystics. I do not close shop. I myself have seen some things that that cannot be explained by no regular conversation. Me see that with my eyes. Yeah, when it comes to the mystics, much less to delve into the realms of what coming out of the darkness of the Congo. Ooh. Suriname, there are people that walk into fire in Suriname and stay in there for hours and come back out. Suriname, South America. And I know them. Before we seal up, let's get into this here. How many of us know about Kimpavita? Hey, I hope everyone is having a wonderful time. Very, very thankful for your presence wherever you may be tuning into us from. Again, if this is the first time you are joining us, very thankful for your presence. Give thanks for all our loved ones, the family in the Caribbean, in Canada, wherever you may be, in England, in Sweden, in Africa. Just give thanks for the life giver and the keeper of life. All right. Now, Kimpavita. Kimpavita. 1684 to 1706, was a Congo Empire prophetess and leader of her own Christian movement. You have to keep in mind, remember, according to the history, they say even Nzinga was baptized, Anna Nzinga, and became a Christian. Of course, for strategic reasons as well. We know that. We understand that. The strategic reasons. But at the same time, money does grow on trees. At the same time, still, yes, many ones, and Alfonso, not Alfonso, what is his real name? Alfonso and his father, they took on the Christianity of the Jesuits too. So you do see when the Europeans came in, the Portuguese and these ones, a lot of leaders did take into the Christianity. But yet still they were very fierce and rebellious against colonialism. And even they even I would say kept their African culture to a strong degree. Then again, now it may have a lot of symbolism to it. And it may also have a lot of strategic implications too. Why they would have done that, why they would have gotten baptized, etc. Okay. Now, she had her own Christian movement called Antoinism. This movement taught that, I'll just use this term, Jesus and other early Christian figures were black? No, not black. Were from the Congo Empire, which obviously they had to be black. They taught that the Christ figure and the other Christian figures were from the Congo Empire. Where would they get such a crazy idea? Now, you see, remember, we never hear about this now. How many of you ever hear about that? We never hear about that. We never hear about that. We never heard about that. So we never got the opportunity to weigh that in the balance with the other crap that we've been taught. Let me say something here, family. You see, this is why education is so important. This is why African history and heritage is so important. It's not about shoving nothing down anybody's throat, not even a child. You see what we do here and what we've been doing for decades? We just bring information on the table. Family, you have life decisions to make on many different aspects, even if it's just your psychological outlook on things and your decision making and all of that kind of thing, even when it comes to philosophy, etc., etc., etc. So the more you know is not the more that you're confusing. The more you know is the better position that you are now in to make a sound and reasonable decision, because you know several things. So when you make a decision, you can say, okay, well, I know that, you know. So if I do this because I know this, and I'm happy that I know that too. And yesterday, you know, I found out this. And since last year, I know this. But person that don't know what you know, they will say, yeah, man, let's go and do it. Let's do it. But hold on. But do you know this? Wow, I didn't know that. You see? So the more you know, it is better for you when it comes to making sound decisions. So if you knew, whether you believe or not, if you knew that in the heart of Africa, there were people that say, not that Jesus black, but the Christ figure and the rest of them come from Congo, at least you would hold breaks and say, hold on, Pastor Floyd, give me a second. Let me just look into this. I'll get back to you. No rush. There's always next year. Yeah. Because you know more. You have more information to balance. So that's why they keep this stuff from us. So this comes like a surprise. She sounds like a lunatic. It makes you believe that's her own personal thing. When it could just naturally be the reality of the moment. Kimpavita, royal warriors. They like to call her the Beatrice of Congo. Yeah. Beatrice is from one of their mythology. Virgo is Beatrice too, eh? Or Beatrice. And just like the other of her kind, she was very rebellious against even the Catholic priests and their traditions. Give thanks, family. What I'm going to do now, as I promised, I'm just going to rerun that interview there where you heard Brother Delbert Blair, and just give you the rest of it. As I said, it wasn't that much more, a couple of more minutes, but you know, the brother always has something good to put on the table. So give thanks for your presence, give thanks for the life giver and the keeper of life, and let us go to that so you could hear the rest of that. But family, of course, you don't know if you know your Bible and you do not know your history. The knowledge of your Bible will become a mystery. And you know, it takes some real eyes to realize the real lies that are amongst us. Yeah, give thanks, King Selassie'S. Jah Rastafari. Yes, family, give thanks again for your blessing. Give thanks for your strength. Thanks for all the ones who have taken the time to be with us this evening. Yes, Holy Manuel, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, love and majesty. You're listening to Radio Anu, the international flavor, the universal spy.
I ain't no joke. I used to let the mic smoke. Now I slam it when I'm done and make sure it's broke. When I'm going, no one gets on, cause I won't let nobody press up and mess up the scene I set. I like to stand in the crowd and watch the people wonder, dance.
Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia-Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of archaeoastronomy from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its makeup has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com for more information.
Julius Kambarage Nyerere was born on April 13, 1922 in Butiama, Tanganyika, to a local Zanaki chief called Nyerere Burrito. At the age of 12, he began his education at the government primary school in Musoma, walking 26 miles each day to attend classes. He completed his schooling a year later. He was then transferred to Tabora Boys Government Secondary School in 1943 and later moved on to Makerere University in Uganda for a certificate in education. In 1949, he became the first Tanganyikan to study in Britain, where he obtained a Master's of Arts in History and Economics at the University of Edinburgh. In 1954, he developed the Tanganyika African National Union, which grouped together nationalist factions towards an agenda for independence and self-reliance for the country. Nyerere was forced by the colonial authorities to choose between his teaching career and his interest in political activities. He was reported as saying that he was a schoolmaster by choice and a politician by accident. In due course, he entered the Legislative Council in 1958 to become the Chief Minister in 1960. A year later, Tanganyika was granted internal self-government and Nyerere became Prime Minister. Nyerere's integrity, his ability as a political orator and organizer, and his readiness to work with different groupings was a significant factor to achieving independence without bloodshed. In this, he was helped by the cooperative attitude of the last British governor, Sir Richard Turnbull.
The Tanganyika. God Save the Queen would be replaced by God Bless Africa.
Tanganyika got full independence in December 1961, and a year later he was elected president of the republic in 1962.
Head of the state is a head of the state. If you cough, people say that fellow's coughing, and then you are advised as head of the state, and you are.
During his political career, Nyerere grew to become one of the most respected and a leading figure in Africa through his messages of peace, unity, and his commitment to the liberation of the African people. He was instrumental in the creation of the Organization of African Unity and made his country the headquarters of the liberation movements in the continent. Nyerere believed in the gradual approach of the African unity through regional blocs. He was so determined to build the East African Federation that he offered to delay the independence of Tanganyika so that the three East African countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanganyika, would attain independence on the same day as a collective entity in order to unite under one government. Unfortunately, the leaders in the other two countries did not reciprocate his feelings. Nyerere never gave up. In 1964, he engineered the Union of Tanganyika and Zanzibar, the first such union of independent countries on the African continent, and he remained committed to the goal of African unity on a continental scale until his last days. The East Africa Community was founded in 1967 as an economic association of East African countries. It began with a declaration of intent between Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda to improve trade, communications, and economic development. Due to political differences and foreign interference, the community broke in 1977. However, a new East African community, which includes Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda, was officially relaunched in 1999 in Tanzania's northern town of Arusha. A few years later, Burundi and Rwanda also joined. As president, Nyerere had to steer a difficult course. By the late 1970s, Tanzania was one of the world's poorest countries. Like many others, it was suffering from a severe foreign debt, a decrease in foreign aid. The emerging of classes of the haves and the poor concerned him. Instead of leaders becoming servants, they developed an appetite for wealth. This led to Nyerere to come with a new policy to correct the growing gap. The Arusha Declaration of 1967 was a blueprint for establishing a more egalitarian society, which placed emphasis on self-reliance and avoided dependence upon foreign loans. The strategy entailed state ownership of major means of production and important services. Consequently, commercial banks, mills, commercial farms, and leading import and export houses were nationalized. More importantly, he introduced the leadership code. Nyerere, who was fondly known as Mwalimu, the teacher, argued that Tanzania had to move from being a nation of individual peasant producers, adopting the incentives and the ethics of the capitalist system. Instead, gradually building a nation of Ujamaa villages where the people would cooperate directly in small groups, which would further produce and equally share the benefits.
We collectivized agriculture in Tanzania. We never did. There are a bunch of fools who keep saying, you collectivized agriculture and that is why. We never did. And the Arusha Declaration states very clearly that if you are going to build socialism, it has to be voluntary. And we define a Ujamaa village. We say it's a village where people live together, work together for the common good. They cannot live together, work together for the common good if you are going to force them. They won't work together. So that is the first thing. We have not tried to force collectivization. Never. There was never a movement of forcing people to put their farms together and work together. So you have to persuade. And since you are persuading people, we envisaged from the very beginning that it was going to take a long time. And it's a process. And it's a process. We can take you now to villages in Tanzania where there is complete collectivization. Complete. Voluntary and complete. And we can take you to areas, villages, most of them in Tanzania, where there is very little collectivization. Most of the peasants are still working on their own farms. Fine, we have no problem. What we want is to help the peasant on his plot to produce the maximum, and we realize beyond that they will have to cooperate. They'll have to cooperate together.
Julius Nyerere believed in the people-centered socialism. Humanness in its fullest sense rather than wealth creation must come first. Societies became better places through the development of people. The policy focus was on human development and self-reliance, which brought some success in key areas, notably in health, education, and political identity. He believed that for long, the economy of Tanzania would depend on agriculture and animal husbandry as a means by which Tanzanians could live without depending on foreign assistance if they used their land properly. Land was the basis of human life, and all Tanzanians would use it as a valuable investment for future development. The government endeavored to see to it that it was being used for the benefit of the whole nation and not for the benefit of one individual or just a few people. It was the responsibility of the government and the cooperative societies to see to it that the people got the necessary tools, training, and leadership in modern methods of agriculture. To implement the policy of self-reliance effectively, the people had to be taught the meaning of self-reliance and its practice to become self-sufficient in food, shelter, and reliable social services.
So we built our leader, deliberately we build up our leader, and he also becomes this symbol of the new order. This is the dilemma of this movement. Sometimes you build the leader to the extent that at the end, when you think you have become free, the fellow has become so powerful you don't know what to do with him. It's inevitable. We don't know how you do it. Then apart from this, from the fact that we build this actually during the movement itself, the traditions are such that power is understood in our own countries in terms of individual. It used to be the chief, then it became the governor. Colonialism didn't help us very much in building institutions. It's only now that we are trying to build institutions, to institutionalize government, to make it collective. What is a cabinet to us? You talk traditionally the idea of a cabinet government. Well, my university professors here understand it. But what is the idea of a cabinet government to the population here?
By the mid-1970s, the Tanzanian economy began to falter rapidly as a result of the rapid decline in exports and Tanzania's inability to import even the most basic commodities. Foreign aid decreased, with IMF imposing conditionalities and the increased demand to repay loans. The economy was affected adversely by the oil shocks of the 1970s, by drought, and the war against the dictatorship of Idi Amin in Uganda also hit the economy of Tanzania.
The IMF is no longer being used for the purposes for which it was founded. It was founded at the end of the First World War by the developed countries. Basically, frankly, by the United States and Britain. They are the founders, and until now, they are the controllers, quite frankly. They are the ones who have to decide what the organization is going to do. It was intended to be an instrument to avoid the economic problems that beset the developed world after in between the wars, after the First World War. That was their purpose. We were not there. India was not there. The so-called Third World was not there. That organized, the Bretton Woods instruments were never intended for the Third World. They were intended to deal with the problems of the First World. I think the difference between myself and some of my colleagues is that I say so. I'm saying so. The IMF, the conditions of the IMF as they are very rough for the poor countries. And I'm saying they're enough. Of late, there is a new condition. And this is of late. It's not in the charter of the IMF. It's a new conditionality. It's the whispers, more than whispers. If you don't have an agreement with the IMF, we will not give you aid. This is terrible. The IMF, I'm saying, has now abandoned the purpose for which it was established. It was not a conspiracy. The way it is being used against us is not a conspiracy in the sense that it was founded to deal with our problems. It never was founded to deal with our problems. But in the course of time, it was discovered that it's very useful. It's a very good instrument of controlling the economies of the Third World, of changing the policy, the direction of policies of the Third World countries. It's a good instrument that can be used. And this is what is being used for now. It's an instrument of control. It's an instrument of destabilization of the Third World. And so I say so, because it's a fact. This is what is happening. And I'm saying to Africa, please watch out. Watch out. See what has happened when a country has signed an agreement with IMF. You see what has happened. It's a problem. I'm not saying poor countries should not be asked to tighten their belt. They're tightening their belt all the time. I've just been saying, the people of Tanzania have been tightening up their belts all these last 6 years. But they go beyond that. Tighten more, tighten more. What is the purpose? It's never development, so that you may be able to pay the banks. It is tightening the belts for the purpose of private enterprise and the ability to pay the banks. But I'm saying this is wrong.
Mwalimu Nyerere was at the forefront of the most pressing issues for Africa at that time, the liberation struggle. He led the campaign to support the liberation struggle, and all these liberation movements based in Tanzania, including those from South Africa, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Namibia, establishing military camps for training for the freedom fighters in Tanzania. Apart from the political fight in the international arena, Tanzania was also host to hundreds of thousands of refugees from many of these countries, including the ethnic torn countries of Burundi and Rwanda. The assistance provided by Tanzania did not stop at giving refuge and the military training. Mwalimu also worked hard to bring the various factions of the liberation movements together, even before total independence. In South Africa, apartheid had taken a tight grip. Anti-apartheid leaders, Nelson Mandela, among many more, were in prison. Those young leaders who emerged later, such as Steve Biko, were murdered. Tanzania led the struggle for dismantling of the apartheid and for the release of Nelson Mandela. The activist role of Nyerere played in advocating the welfare of Africans. He was invited to address the first post-apartheid parliament in South Africa after the regime was voted off by overwhelming votes.
About Africa south of the Sahara. You are isolated from the centers of power. There is no internal problem, there is no internal urge in the United States or in Europe or in Japan to help Africa. None. And I think to some extent the age of imperialism has gone. So you could easily be forgotten. Africa is out of interest when we are killing one another. We arouse a lot of interest.
if we want to appear in European on European television, we can cause more trouble somewhere. Africa south of the Sahara is isolated. Africa south of the Sahara in the world of today is on its own. Totally on its own.
Nyerere, as a man of integrity, was always ready to accept mistakes both in policy and in practice.
To friends, I can admit, and we have made a number of mistakes. I think one of them I spoke about yesterday. Only yesterday I was speaking about one of them. We nationalized whatever industries we had. We have few industries in around 67 when we became independent, and around 67. One of the major, and industrially we really did not have many industries to nationalize. But we had a very highly developed sisal industry based on estates. It was already beginning to run into some difficulty because of the world prices. The prices were going down. And we nationalized it. It was a mistake. It is quite clear it was a mistake. We did not have the management, the local management to manage those farms. We nationalized some. We didn't nationalize all the farms. We nationalized some estates and left others. And this has proved the others which we left, which we did not nationalize, are doing much better than those we nationalized, although, of course, they had to function in the same economic situation in the world. And the basic problem was that we simply did not have sufficient management. The management was not well developed. In this case, we made a mistake. That's one mistake. It's one example of the type of mistake we made. I think also institutionally we made mistakes. We abolished the cooperative movement. I think we shouldn't have abolished the cooperative movement. Once again, centralization. It was a mistake. To centralize, you need a lot of ability to be able to centralize. And it's better to commit the mistake of the people themselves with their little experience and continuously gaining their experience running small cooperative unions. It's better to commit the mistakes there than to run the risk of centralization. When you make a mistake there, the mistake is very serious.
Julius Nyerere, as Tanzania's president, philosopher king, shaped the country's policies and image to his own designs, moving later in his career into a new role as international proponent of the Third World Cooperation.
But I go out, and sometimes I get annoyed, but sometimes I don't get annoyed. Here I am, former president of my country, no problem in Tanzania. We've never had these problems that they have. But I'm an African, and they see me, they ask me the problems of Rwanda. I say, but I don't come from Rwanda. But you come from Africa.
What's the difference?
But I don't meet everybody. I don't meet an Englishman somewhere. If Blair was to come to Dar es Salaam, I don't ask him what is happening in Bosnia. It never occurs to me. I should ask Blair, what is happening to you Europeans because of what is happening in If President Cole was to come somewhere, I don't ask him what is happening in Chechnya. Well, Cole could say, why are you asking me anything about Chechnya? I don't know what is happening in Chechnya. But this is not true about Africa. About Africa, Mr. President, you go, here you are, trying to build something which is a tremendous experience. But perhaps you are different, because sometimes they think South Africa is different. So perhaps they would say, but this is President Mandela, this is different, it's not... But for the likes of me, no, I'm an African. And I say, sometimes I get irritated, but then I say, why? Why do I get irritated? Because, of course, I'm a Tanzanian, but what is this Tanzania? What is this Tanzania? Why should these Europeans see me as a Tanzanian? What is this Tanzania? This is something we tried to create in my lifetime. I built Tanzania. So what is this Tanzania? The Europeans are right. The North Americans are right to look at me as an African.
As African countries became independent, several African leaders like Nyerere and Kwame Nkrumah joined the non-aligned movement. Originally, non-alignment simply meant not aligned with either of the military and ideological camps.
If I go to Britain, I marvel at what has taken place. If I go to the United States, I'm overawed by the development there. If I go to China and see what they are doing, that we can also do. That we can also do. Because it's primitive. You go into their factory, it's a primitive factory which has a roof, a leaking roof, and no cement floor, and they're producing glass there, they're producing other things. That we can do, at home. And many things like that. If you go and you find the way they're organizing their communes, they're using tradition in order to break tradition. You see, we can do that in Africa too, and many things like that. Africa has experience. If Africa wants to be objective, China has experience, which is very relevant to what is taking place in Africa at present. This is not a good thing to say, with the others who see China as merely a threat and not some country from which we can learn. And then there are others China is doing.
He sometimes led campaigns for world peace and nuclear disarmament while allying himself closely with distinguished leaders like Pierre Trudeau of Canada, Olof Palme of Sweden, Willy Brandt of Germany, and Terje Allende of Denmark. Nyerere met Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Trudeau, Queen Elizabeth of Britain, Australian Prime Minister and US President John Kennedy on bilateral and multilateral cooperation.
The President of Tanganyika, President Nyerere.
I always associate the United States with freedom. During those days when we were struggling for our freedom and having chosen the method of peace to achieve our freedom, I used to come almost annually to the United Nations organization to plead the cause of the freedom of my country. And every time I think of the United States, I think also of the freedom of my people.
Nyerere stepped down as president and Ali Hassan Mwinyi took over the reins of power. Nevertheless, Nyerere continued to be an important political figure by retaining the position of chairperson of the ruling party Chama cha Mapinduzi, which had been formed in 1977 after the amalgamation of the Afro-Shiraz Party and TANU. The principles and values that Mwalimu Nyerere stood for still arose deep interest within and between schools of thought a decade after his death. Nyerere humbly retired from active politics and moved back to his childhood home in the village of Butiama in western Tanzania. Of the many things this son of Africa will be remembered for was his humble, peace-loving, fight against corruption, crusader of justice, and non-believer in tribal or ethnic sentiments. Nyerere traveled more widely after retiring than he did when he was president of Tanzania. He was tasked to mediate the conflict in the countries of the Great Lakes, Rwanda and Burundi, and also DRC. He passed on the duty of mediating the Burundi peace crisis to Nelson Mandela, partly due to deteriorating health. He died in a London hospital of leukemia on October 14, 1999. Tanzanians and the world mourned the death of this great son of Africa. He was given a well-deserving send-off. Julius Nyerere has left a rich legacy, still loved by his people and by many others all over.
You're listening to Radio Anu, the international flavor, the universal spice. Are you interested in learning ancient astronomy, archaeoastronomy, or astrotheology? Well, the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge is now offering certified courses in the field of astronomy, covering all the above mentioned. Sign up now for our online courses or visit us in Antigua in the Caribbean for 7 days and 7 nights of practical underground research, plus archaeoastronomical observation on Green Castle Hill. You will learn how to identify the stars, the constellations, and the planets, as well as their makeup and their value. This will be a studycation. Enroll today by visiting our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or sending us an email, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, or search us out on TripAdvisor, the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge, Ancient Astronomy, Archaeoastronomy, and Astrotheology, the wave of the future.
Meditation helps us see things before we act, before even we think. Your intentions becomes very visible to your inner heart. And when your heart perceives that my intention is not right, it will not cooperate with your mind. Thing my father used to say, and my master also used to say, that there are 3 scenarios. बेवकूफ लोग जो होते हैं ना, बेवकूफ means idiots, fools. If you tell them that what you have done is wrong, even after committing a mistake, they are unwilling to accept their mistakes. They don't see the fault lying there. They're so dumb. There is another level who understands, yes, I made a mistake. But what you're going to do about it? They have no clue. There are many levels like this. Some people, after showing the mistakes, they accept it and very joyfully try to correct it. There are some intelligent ones who, while committing a mistake, would know, okay, yes, I'm making a mistake. And there are 2 categories there. Either you'll stop it or continue on the same trajectory. क्या होएगा देख लेते हैं. And the wisest one, who sees before, if I do this, if I speak like this, the results will be like this. So these are the wisest of the lot. See, meditation helps us see things before we act, before even we think. Your intentions becomes very visible to your inner heart. And when your heart perceives that my intention is not right, it will not cooperate with your mind. Mind will not think. And even if it thinks, there will come a time that, okay, I will not do this because it's too much of a headache, as well as my heart is also not agreeing with it. So such individuals who are able to see their trajectory before even they initiate the project, they are the wisest of the lot. And once again, I have noticed that in my business days, or even now while running this organization in 140-50 countries, one do understand that, before I take actions, I must go through the consequences ahead of time. We meditate over it. Sometimes I do consult my colleagues and say, let's all meditate. And then I ask a question, what do you think? There is no ego in consulting our colleagues. In fact, when many colleagues come together and decide one thing and unanimously all say, yes, let's do this, that can be the most successful things. So meditation at an individual level, meditation at a group level, it has its own benefits. And I wish this becomes a culture.
The only Messiah in the world, Messiah, Selassie'S.
Yeah, give thanks for your presence with us. Of course, life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Yes, royal family. Thanks for your presence with us on a beautiful uprising. Of course, today being the 23rd day, remember today is the 23rd day of August. We're talking about exactly 20 and 8 minutes after the hour of 10 o'clock in the AM. A beautiful looking Wednesday uprising here. This is Radio Anu, the international flavor, the universal spice, wherever you are. This is PriestIsaacInstitute.com, PriestIsaacInstitute.com. Of Of course, you know, we are broadcasting out of the island of Antigua in the nation of Antigua and Barbuda. The Honorable Priest Isaac here just keeping you company, going through the morning ride. And of course, I'm just saying thanks for, you know, all of those who have been sending good words for us and good inspiration. Just reminding you that we will be officially relaunching the website. What did I say? We will be officially relaunching the website. I'm talking about on the 17th day of September. The 17th day of September 2023. Officially, the website will be relaunched from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to have a wonderful program. It's going to be a webinar style presentation. In fact, you're going to need to get your Zoom link. Well, you don't need your Zoom link to be a part of it, but I would encourage you to get your Zoom link to be a part of it, because those who will be joining us via the Zoom, they're going to have some special offers, gifts given to them. And we will have special offers throughout the fullness of the program. So make sure you are in tune for that. It's still a bit away. You know, I'm talking about the 17th day of September. Did I say August? 17th day of September 2023. Again, the official relaunch of the website. But those of you who are listening to us here on Radio Anu, obviously you are on the website, so you definitely can browse through and see how the website would have evolved, and you know, it's definitely more accessible to you, the family, and more user-friendly, really. So we're very thankful for that. Hey, I'm getting a word from our technicians that we are streaming on the YouTube, and we may be streaming on the Facebook as well. So hey, blessed love to all of you who are, you know, on the different platforms that we definitely utilize. Remember, when these platforms lock off, you just press the link in the description, and that will take you straight to Radio Anu. This is 24/7, no locking off here. Give thanks for your presence with us. Of course, we're having a wonderful, you know, program here this evening, this day. This morning, as I said, it's just 10:30 on the dot now, 10:30 on the dot in the AM time. And of course, we have listeners from all over the international community with us. Just blessing everyone in the USA that is in tune, blessing everyone that's in Canada. We have our brothers and sisters in Zimbabwe. Where are we now? We have South Africa with us, Ghana, Senegal, Nigeria, Belize, Brazil, Guyana. Man, practically the whole Caribbean is listening to us. Bahamas, Germany, the UK, hey, all over in tune to Radio Anu. So I'm very thankful for that. And remember, you know, those of you who are in tune with us on streaming through wherever we're streaming, Instagram, whatever, the link should be in the description below, or in the description to the side, or wherever the description is. You should have the link to bring you straight to Radio Anu. Hey, give thanks. We have some wonderful programs lined up here for you. And remember, this evening, the Tiger's Nest, right here on Radio Anu, 7 p.m. The Tiger's Nest, right here on Radio Anu, 7 p.m. sharp. The Tiger's Nest. Make sure you are with us. We're going to be having a wonderful sit down, a wonderful vibration, a wonderful energy. I'm going to be continuing the discussion about the Olmec. Let me say something about the Olmec here. This is very important. And family, share the link. Share the link. Let someone know you're listening to Radio Anu. Those of you on the YouTube, share the link. Even if you're listening to it from a previous broadcast, still share the link. It's good. You know, and share the link that's in the description too. Here it is. Now, we've been speaking about Marcus Messiah Garvey for some time, at least for the last couple of weeks, you know, going into the Earth Day of Marcus Messiah Garvey. And I'm sure you would have noticed that we would have been linking Messiah Garvey even with the upcoming full moon, even with the storms that are rising up in the Caribbean as we speak. And of course, you know, today, right now, is the opening of the Lion's Gate. Now, as I'm speaking to you, the sun is blocking the energy from the star known as Regulus. That's not a simple thing. That is not a simple thing. As I'm speaking to you now, portals are open. What are you doing? Are you meditating? Are you doing your affirmations now, or are you arguing with somebody? I hope you ain't complaining about something else. I hope you ain't looking no mischief. I hope you're concentrating on business. I hope you're concentrating on progress. I hope you're concentrating on evolving. I hope you're concentrating on love. I hope you're concentrating on your family. I hope you're concentrating on your neighbors. I hope you're concentrating on your community, on your gathering, your church, whatever it is, to make sure that we have a betterment, pardon me, within ourselves, our lives, and our community. That's the energy you get from the Lion Gate opening. And we're going to touch a bit about that more tonight. So tonight, make sure you're in tune to the Tiger's Nest at 7 p.m. We're going to go into the Lion's Gate a bit more. But hear this, I want to talk about the Olmec too. There are some people out here that believe the Olmecs are Tonto. They have some people that believe the Olmecs are Indians, like the American Indians. In fact, they have some people that say the Indians are black people. Now listen, I just want to get this straight. Of course, we understand genealogy. We understand the whole aspect, anthropology. We get it, Don't get me wrong. In fact, many of who we refer to as Native Americans are actually African people. Don't get me wrong at all. And I clearly realize that the Europeans have even infiltrated the Native American community. Sometimes you go and check out the Native American people and it looks like a European/Native American community, But even if you observe a lot of the old pictures, you see a lot of the Native Americans are dark. They call them redskins, but them are dark people with similar features to even a lot of black people today. And what I would admit is that a lot of us in the U.S. have Native American blood in us. So I'm not running from that at all. But when you come with this confusing reasoning about, we didn't come from Africa. Oh, no, well, you drop off the cliff from me now. We didn't come from Africa. We are the Indians and the Africans are different people. Listen, come on, you sound just as bad as the Hebrew Israelites that say that they were kidnapped from Africa, but all the millions of slaves that came to the West were Israelites and none of them were Africans and all of that kind of stuff, and the Israelites are not really Africans and a whole heap of talk. Keep in mind, all Hebrew Israelites don't really think the same, but I'm just bringing it up to show you how we are thinking today. So there are those who would clearly tell you that slavery never took place. There are those who would clearly tell you that we specifically in the West didn't come here on no slave ships. We've been here all the time. Again, I agree that there are those of us who have been here all the time. All of us didn't come on no slave ships. Some of us came here to save those who came here on slave ships. And some of us were here when the slave ships arrived. I totally agree with that. But to try to flip the story as if you want to totally ostracize the African story and our African heritage, no, you're crazy. And then you want to tell me the Indians are the Olmecs, Sitting Bull. You're right with that. The Olmecs are African. It's obvious. I shouldn't even have to say tonight on the Tiger's Nest we're going to prove that. Why I shouldn't even have to say that. I could just show you a picture of the Olmec and the story is done. Indians, I'm telling you. But anyway, family, give thanks for your presence with us. We're talking about exactly 23 minutes now, moving up into the hour of 11 o'clock. As I said, today being the 23rd day of August, we're live and direct here on Radio Anu, just taking in the opening of the portals as we speak. Now, the opening of the portals, the Lion's Gate being opened as we speak this evening, this morning, Ra'asi. Beautiful. Hey, family, we have some wonderful programs aligned for you today. I know many ones were asking to hear that program again as it relates to Mahatma Gandhi. Some would say, don't call him Mahatma, because Mahatma means great soul. But anyway, I have that in the lineup for you, and we have some beautiful vibration and energy and a lot more inspiration right here for you on Radio Anu. Make sure you tune into the Tiger's Nest this evening, 7 p.m. sharp. Yes, family, give thanks.
Remember, our Philip baptized Ethiopian official. He was the first Ethiopian on record to follow Christ from that day onward. The word of the Almighty continue to grow in the heart of the Ethiopian. And I might say, for myself, from early childhood, I was taught to appreciate the Bible. And to the passage of time, my love for it increased. Come on to me, all that I labor, and I will give you rest. In the Bible, you find the solution for our present difficulties and our future action. Fire on the devil, philosophy, give us a taking of his majesty. Burn the red, white, and blue. Fire for the Union Jack. Rise the red, gold, and green, red, black, and green. That fine star, lion, timber, and they are. Give thanks to the fifth kingdom of the Almighty Eye. Yeah! Yeah. In that
You're listening to Radio Anu, the international flavor, the universal spice.
Shall break every chain. Haile, Almighty God, our in life.
Selassie's grandson, it just changes the atmosphere.
He meets the criteria of doing that distinguished work, and not just for Ethiopia, but he was worldwide.
Unveiling of a blue plaque at the former residence of Ethiopia's last emperor, Haile Selassie'S I.
It's only right that I introduce myself. So my name is Dr. Jack Bueller, and I'm the CEO of a company called Nubian Jack. And what we do is we install commemorative plaques all around the world. And I say all around.
What I'd like to say is I am very proud of my grandfather for doing many things. And the foremost is getting rid of slavery in Ethiopia, bringing the first constitution to Ethiopia, and also bringing Africa together by organizing the OAU.
It's a great day for the legacy of Emperor Haile Selassie. Thank you for all those who contributed to this amazing.
It's quite a coincidence, but my grandfather actually was a mariner, and he was the commander of one of the ships which sailed in the convoy from Alexandria that took the emperor from Alexandria to, the ambassador told me it was Jerusalem.
So it's 90 years today. Rastafari becomes the power of the Trinity. Elect of God, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. Jah! Rastafari! Emperor Haile Selassie I. Living ever giving. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to around the world, all of you around the world, welcome to a fantastic and historical commemoration which we're about to punctuate today by unveiling a plaque to His Majesty, Imperial Majesty, who stayed at this address approximately 84 years ago. This day is very, very special because it marks the 90th anniversary of his commemoration and coronation with Empress Menen. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to do a lot of talking now. We have some very distinguished guests here that would like to speak to you. I'm going to start with calling the very first person of the borough, as it is the process and protocol. I'd like to introduce you to, ladies and gentlemen, Councillor Sally Kennedy, the Mayor of Merton. Sally.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me. I really find it an honour and a privilege, and I'm quite excited once I got here and saw this, and to be sitting next to Haile Selassie's grandson. It just changes the atmosphere, it changes the whole thing, and for me that is a great honour. Thank you. And to sit next to the ambassador as well, I think I feel very humbled in such amazing company. So thank you very much for inviting me. I was a student in the 70s, and that's when I first heard about Haile Selassie and Rastafarians, and obviously only know a very little bit about the culture. But just by talking to the ambassador, who was telling me about the Arabic coffee, and I am a terrible coffee snob, my daughter tells me, and I love good coffee, and I do drink it. And he was telling me the trail that this coffee took to become more used throughout the world. So I've learned something immediately. But it is an honour. I didn't know Haile Selassie stayed here, so I did a bit of reading about it. And it is amazing, and I think it's wonderful you're commemorating it. So thank you for inviting me here, and I do consider it an honour to have met you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. You want me to sit down?
So the next person we're going to call is not a High Commissioner, because Ethiopia, as you know, wasn't formally colonized. He is, in fact, an ambassador. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please welcome Mr. Males Testa, High Commissioner, Ambassador even, of Ethiopia.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today to this event. And I would like to thank the Mayor of Wimbledon for joining us as well. and the grandson of the emperor, and also the organizer, Ethiopian World Federation Corporation, and also other organizers. It's a pleasure to be here on this ceremony. And I wish to make a small speech. Honorable Mayor of Wimbledon, dignitaries, my fellow compatriots, as head of mission of Africa's first embassy in the United Kingdom, it is my distinct honor and good fortune to join you at the unveiling of a blue plaque at the former residence of Ethiopia's last emperor, Haile Selassie'S I. Ethiopians note with thanks and appreciation the warmth of friendship and the degree of hospitality accorded to Emperor Haile Selassie during his exile in the UK. The emperor himself acknowledged this fact when, after the liberation of Ethiopia, he gifted his spacious exiled Georgian home, Fairfield House in Bath, to Bath and North East Somerset Council, to serve as home for the elderly. It is a source of even greater satisfaction to witness that the unveiling of the blue plaque comes at a time when UK-Ethiopia relations are growing in metes and bounds. A big congratulations to the Ethiopian World Federation and all those concerned for making this happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So what I'd like to do is also thank all you Zoom people all around the world who've taken part in this wonderful historic tribute. I think it's only right that I introduce myself. So my name is Dr. Jack Bueller, and I'm the CEO of a company called Nubian Jack. And what we do is we install commemorative plaques all around the world. And I say all around the world because we have a plaque in Wales, and we're just about to have one in America. So it is a distinct pleasure that we will be also looking to memorialize His Majesty in Ethiopia as well. We'll discuss that later. What I'd like to do is welcome to the stage the people who gave us permission to install this historic plaque on their building. It wasn't because they knew it would be worth £1 million more after today. Nothing to do with that at all. They just felt the sentiment of the occasion. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we welcome Paul and Sophie?
Thank you very much for coming here. It's a real pleasure to welcome such distinguished guests into our front drive. It's not every day we have such a gathering. So welcome here. We're very excited to have this plaque. It's quite a coincidence, but my grandfather actually was a mariner, and he was the commander of one of the ships which sailed in the convoy from Alexandria that took the emperor from Alexandria to, the ambassador told me it was Jerusalem, I think was the next stop. So 84 years ago, my grandfather was part of the journey of His Majesty to the UK. So we're delighted to welcome you back here today, and we look forward to having the plaque unveiled. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we also have to thank the very first Vice President of the Ethiopian World Federation for conducting a wonderful Zoom ceremony up until this point. We are now going to welcome to the stage the President of the Ethiopian World Federation, who's going to tell us, by the way, they're our partners on this project, and they're going to tell us how they came about and how His Majesty ordained them to carry on the work that he started. So can we please welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, Ras Tinish.
Ja. First of all, I'd like to greet you in the name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Ja. Ever living, ever faithful, ever sure. And we would like to also thank all our extinguished guests for being here. And, you know, we have the ambassador of the Ethiopian embassy representing here. And we're so very pleased that he was able to make it. We have the mayor And the mayor is, come out dressed regal in our outfits. So, so we are very happy that you're here. We have His Majesty's grandson, the Honorable Prince Michael McCannon. And we also have his cousin as well, Mas Muligeta. So we're very pleased to have our extinguished guests, and I would also like to say thank you for the family that allowed everything to go on with good gesture and with a good heart. So we thank you. We'll also like to thank Nubian Jack for the hard work that he's put in to making sure that this plaque was being able to get put up. So we give enough thanks for that as well. Yeah, and we give thanks for everyone that connected up on the Zoom, and we give thanks for everyone else who's participated, all the EWF, the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated members from Local 3 that was able to partake and to contribute into also helping to make this program be successful. First of all, I would like to say that the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, our organization, was started in Bath. Before Bath, it was known as the Aid for Ethiopia. When we realized that the black people in the West realized that Mussolini had invaded Ethiopia, the black people of the West, they came together and they decided that they wanted to help Ethiopia. By that, we started the Aid for Ethiopia, and that was started in New York. After a while, there was a division amongst the people. Some people wanted to stay democratic. Some people wanted to get to go a bit communist because of the behaviors of what was happening towards black people in America at that time. But when the black people in the West heard that Ethiopia was being attacked by Mussolini, we came and we rallied together. So after the split of the Aid for Africa, they wanted to make sure that all the funding and everything that was being sent for Ethiopia and collected for Ethiopia would reach Ethiopia. So a delegation came to met with His Imperial Majesty while he was in Bath. And from there, the Constitution of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated was established. Since then, we have continually worked and continually tried to be connected as one with the government of Ethiopia. Because as we know as the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, that we are sovereign to Ethiopia, no one else. Because His Majesty told us that our flag will be of our colors will be of the national colors of Ethiopia, green, yellow, and red. So that's the flag that we fly. Yeah? So that is where our organization itself was able to come and to be established. So since 1937 up until now, the Ethiopian World Federation is still going. And I'm very proud to say that in London, Local 3 of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, from the time that our local has been established, we've always had elections every year, and we've always had an executive body to fill the post. So the work continues. So, and there are many ones of us elder than me. I'm just fortunate to be here standing up as the president at this moment in time. So also I give thanks for that as well, and for all our members. I would like to say something about the unveiling of this blue plaque. A lot of ones is not aware, so we're going to make them aware right here, right now, that the blue plaque, is not only for people who have passed for 20 years, has passed already for 20 years. Yeah, and you know that I and as Rasta, we don't envision about death. we deal with life forever, forever and ever. Yeah? So even if one pass on this level, yeah, life still continues. There's the next journey that we still have to take. But the blue plaque also establishes one who is living and has passed 100 years within their lifetime. Yeah? It also represents one who has done such a distinguished work and that is recognized amongst his peers in the job and the obligations that he had. And we're saying that as members of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, we are in agreement that His Majesty meets the criteria of doing that distinguished work, and not just for Ethiopia, but he was worldwide. Yeah? It was worldwide. We tried to send out enough information to ones who had concerns, but it seemed like they still kept their concerns. But as we said, when we do something as the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, we do it wholeheartedly. Yeah? We do it wholeheartedly. So we know that what we're doing today is a representation of His Imperial Majesty's life. I would just like to say a small quote from His Imperial Majesty. Our task is now to prove ourselves capable of employing our talents and resources in the cause of Africa and the African people. The way will be perilous. Sacrifices will be demanded of us. Our labors may go unobserved and our triumph unnoticed except to ourselves. And in the ultimate sense, this is wholly as it should be, for we are men, and this is man's lot. Let us work together, arm in arm as brothers, that our progeny may live in peace and well-being, that prosperity will honor our names and our achievements. This will suffice. This will be our victory. His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I. Rastafari. With that, I will leave you all. We give enough thanks. As I said, we give enough thanks to everyone and to the dignitaries, to Nubian Jack and his hard work, and the ones that was working with him to make this successful. And as I also said, to the members of the Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated, and to all our dignitaries that came and represented. Respect Mr. Mulligeta. So we give thanks, and we would like to say that we send our love, and this is done with the best gesture to recognize His Imperial Majesty and his good works. Rastafari.
How's everybody feeling? Ja! All right. I'm just making sure, because I understand that you can't hear out there properly, but it sounds very loud and clear to me. We've got a speech from His Majesty's great-grandson, which, in fact, I'm going to let my trusted colleague, First Lady of the African and Caribbean War Memorial, Princess Kasheni, read.
So, that's Michael. This is from His Royal Highness Prince Joel Makonnen. So, from His Imperial Highness Prince Joel Makonnen to Nubian Jack Academy, to the Ethiopian World Federation and all friends of Ethiopia and His Imperial Majesty. Thank you all for gathering to celebrate this historic day, November 2nd, when my great-grandfather, Emperor Haile Selassie, was crowned alongside his wife, Empress Menen. His Majesty was always a staunch advocate for Pan-Africanism and unity of Black peoples worldwide, and spoke out at length against the dangers of fascism, racism, and other forms of oppression against humanity. His Imperial Majesty's words still resonate today in 2020. So it is a wonderful tribute to honor him on this 90th anniversary of his coronation with a commemorative plaque. A reminder of our champions of yesterday, but also a reminder for new leaders to pick up the mantle where they left off to continue fighting for the cause. Thank you for your invitation, and he's grateful that he couldn't be here today, and he sends his sincere greetings and support to all. And thank you again for organizing this commemorative event.
Before we call our final speaker, who of course is the Prince, and he will be called with his cousin and also the president of the World Federation, I just want us to think for a moment. So it's 90 years today, Rastafari becomes the power of the Trinity.
That's right.
Elect of God, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. Jah!
Rastafari! Emperor Haile Selassie I.
Living, ever giving. I'm not going to say ever sure. I'm not going to say any more because we've had a fantastic array of different textures. But when you have the lineage personified as his grandson, it gives me no greater pleasure than to call His Highness Prince Michael McKinnon, grandson of His Imperial Majesty.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to call on, welcome to the Mayor of Wimbledon, the Ambassador for coming, representing Ethiopia, and welcoming my cousin and all of us to come and commemorate of the opening of the plaque. What I'd like to say is I am very proud of my grandfather for doing many things. And the foremost is getting rid of slavery in Ethiopia, bringing the first constitution to Ethiopia, and also bringing Africa together by organizing the OAU. And this is my third placard. I've done it in Bath, Western Maia, and now Wimbledon. So to the organizers, especially Mr. Tinish, His Excellency Mr. Tinish, I'd like to thank you for organizing this and also inviting me to come and reveal the thing. And I'd like to thank the owners of the house for allowing us to come and all of us invited here. So I'm not much of a orator, so I'll just say thank you. Thank you, all of you. Thank you very much.
Rastafari! First ever living God. Kisheni, would you like to escort the Prince, Mr. Malgatti, and the President to unveil the plaque? While we are doing that, a few somber words. We reach out to the Aroma people. We have love. We only have love for you, my brothers. This plaque will not be moved. We understand the pain that you are feeling, but this is the time to come together. Let us review our history. His Majesty is a mystical gift from the gods to us. We do not yet understand his story. Those in America, I ask you to read this man's life, because it is the missing key to our redemption. Okay. Marcus Garvey, we love you. Ja!
Rastafari.
Okay. Kishani. We're gonna play the national anthem of Ethiopia, and then we're gonna do a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All of us around the world, we're gonna unveil this plaque on Parkside. And I have to say again, thank you, Sophie and Paul. Thank you very much. Okay, national anthem, please. Lovely, lovely. Sounds better than God Save the Queen, doesn't it?
Yes, right.
But however, I would like the Mayor, First Lady of the Borough, to also be part of this.
Yeah.
Come on, Sally. Come through. Just come over here.
Come over here.
No, you won't. And everybody around the world, we are going to count down from 5 to 1. And then we're going to reveal this plaque. You guys are making it a little bit too...
Not this one. Not that one.
No, I'm just closing it. I'm just closing it. Okay. All right. So, after 5, everybody. 5, 4, 3,
2, 1.
His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie'S, Emperor of Ethiopia, stayed at this house
while in exile, 1936. Ja!
Rastafari.
Ja!
Rastafari.
Ja!
Rastafari.
Haile Selassie the First.
Congratulations.
Yes, we will get that.
I want to thank a few people. I want to thank the Ethiopian World Federation. I want to thank Empress Makeda. Say thanks to Empress Makeda.
Yes, thank you, First Vice President, and to everyone that's connected with us today. And thank you for all your support. Thank Nubian Jack and his family,
yes,
and his crew.
And his team.
And sometimes people don't understand the amount of hard work that ones is out here doing to represent the black nation. We thank you.
Thank you. And we have to say a special thank you to the man who put the plaque up. A very humble brother, very close friend of mine. Come here, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not even going to say his name. The plaque erector.
Thank you.
Go on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nubian Jack. Give thanks and praise to the Most High.
Rastafari, bless you, Lord.
I'm delighted to be here, accompanying my mission head, His Excellency Ambassador Tafari Desta. It's a great day for the legacy of Emperor Haile Selassie. Thank you for all those who contributed to this amazing, the first in London, It comes at a time when Ethiopian-United Kingdom relations have been going stronger and stronger. Don't ever forget that Ethiopia was the first to establish diplomatic missions in United Kingdom, and this is another testimony to the growing friendly relations and a special place in the hearts and minds of our Jamaicans and Caribbean people throughout the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me today to this event. And that's really, I'm impressed that your organization has prepared this event to commemorate his 90th day of coronation. And his legacies are still fresh, and he has worked a lot and left a deep history toward the liberation of Africa, decolonization of Africa, and started to, work on Pan-Africanism with African Americans that were at the time, and we really appreciate what the African Americans did for Ethiopia during the Italian invasion. And we are here. The history continues with different generations, and we are really impressed to see this plaque to be posted here today, where he used to live. So this is a great event, and thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
I wish the World Federation to grow, continues to grow, and make a very much impact on black people, both here in America, Africa, here in Britain. Right. That's what I like to. All right. Okay. I like black people to be free and have a voice in the world, and say, be able to say, speak for their freedom.
All right.
Thank you.
Blessed love. Masagana love.
Shall break every chain. Haile, oh my shall break every chain. Mighty Coronation.
This is Radio Anu International. Cutting and clearing, renting and tearing. You're listening to Radio Anu, the international flavor, the universal spirit. Are you interested in learning ancient astronomy, archaeoastronomy, or astrotheology? Well, the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge is now offering certified courses in the field of astronomy, covering all the above mentioned. Sign up now for our online courses or visit us in Antigua, in the Caribbean, for 7 days and 7 nights of practical underground research, plus archaeoastronomical observation on Green Castle Hill. You will learn how to identify the stars, the constellations, and the planets, as well as their makeup and their value. This will be a studycation. Enroll today by visiting our website, priestisaacinstitute.com. priestisaacInstitute.com or sending us an email, priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com, or search us out on TripAdvisor, the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge, Ancient Astronomy, Archaeoastronomy, and Astrotheology, the wave of the future.
Hi, I'm Laura Flanders. Today on the show, author, activist Arundhati Roy debunks the myths surrounding Mahatma Gandhi, and reporter Glenn Greenwald of The Intercept talks about the corporate power behind the national security state. All that and a commentary from me coming up right here on The Laura Flanders Show. India. To a lot of people, all they're familiar with is one person, Mahatma Gandhi. Well, that's not enough as far as our next guest's concerned. Not enough to understand either the nation of India's past or its present. Arundhati Roy is the author of, among other things, The God of Small Things. She's written a new introduction to an 80-year-old book, Annihilation of Caste by B.R. Ambedkar. Here to talk about the new book and the case it makes against the mythology around Gandhi, Arundhati Roy. Arundhati, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Laura.
Let's start with the text. It's been said that Annihilation of Caste is the most widely read and also the most obscure text in India. What's meant by that?
Well, the book that you're holding in your hands right now, it's an introduction. I mean, it's actually the text of an 80-year-old speech that was never delivered by Dr. Ambedkar, who in India is, a very, very beloved man amongst particularly amongst the Dalits, who were formerly known as the Untouchables. And it was a speech that he was supposed to give in 1936. And the organization, which is a sort of privileged caste Hindu reformer outfit, who were at the time proselytizing amongst the Dalits, the Untouchables, of course, the opposite of the Hollywood meaning of untouchable, and trying to prevent them from converting to other religions, to escape the scourge of caste. But it was a very political game that was going on at the time, and they asked Ambedkar to give the text of the speech in advance, and they saw that he was going to use that platform to indict Hinduism in a very scholarly, erudite way, to indict Hinduism and to exhort untouchables, I use that word because he uses it, to convert to other religions. And so they just disinvited him. And this text he published himself in 1936. But subsequently, it's the most read because Dalit presses have reproduced it. The Maharashtra government, initially claimed that it has all the rights to Ambedkar's work, but you can't buy it in a normal bookshop. It's a kind of underground classic, and it shows how there is a kind of lack of communication, a complete breakdown of communication between the privileged caste of India and the others, so even the books don't. And he actually had written it to address a privileged caste audience, and they have kind of invisibilized it.
You talk about the invisibilizing of even the debates that took place at that time between Ambedkar and Gandhi. The whole book is not about that, but your introduction touches on it. Can you, for our U.S. audience, just kind of summarize briefly, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the kind of mythology around Mahatma Gandhi?
Well, actually, when Ambedkar published Annihilation of Caste, he said that he wasn't even, he just considered the Hindu right wing beyond the pale, the kind of people who are in power in India today. So his debate was with those who considered themselves moderate Hindus, and he said that a religion that whose sacred texts sanctified the idea of caste, sanctified this kind of hierarchy, sanctified the idea that, at the time 44 million and today 100 million people could be considered polluting and impure. He denounced that religion. He said you cannot be moderate and believe in those texts. And the person who the world believes to be the greatest living Hindu, Mahatma Gandhi, replied, and then Ambedkar replied to that reply, and all that is contained in this book. So when I started to write the introduction, I started looking at this debate. And I just began to get really puzzled about the thing. Gandhi was saying that caste is the most genius thing, and it was the best part of Hinduism. And, of course, the world thinks that he fought against caste. Right. But what he did was he supported caste. But he fought against the idea of untouchability, which was the performative end of caste.
So you could keep the structure without the behavior?
Exactly. That he didn't question entitlement. He believed that because caste is essentially about entitlement and about ancestral occupation. That, a person whose caste says that they should be what Gandhi kept calling scavengers, whose job it is to carry human excreta on their heads, should remain that, should think of it as a divine privilege. And today's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, has echoed those words almost exactly.
You describe a very complicated relationship, maybe not so complicated, between his theories around caste and his theories around race and his orientation towards the racial apartheid system in South Africa. This is stuff that most Americans for sure don't know.
It will be distressing for people in the black community who have been taught to valorize him, and people on the American left who keep invoking him. But the fact is that all of us, including me, we were taught that Gandhi's political awakening happened when he was thrown out of this whites-only compartment in South Africa. On the train. And in fact, Gandhi believed in racial segregation. His first victory in South Africa was to campaign for a third entrance to be opened in the Durban post office, so Indians would not have to use the same entrance as Kafirs. And all my analysis, by the way, is not my analysis. I've just reproduced his own writings and his own. So there's no interpretation going on here. And he calls them savages and Kafirs. And of course, people say, but he changed. But he did not change. Only, he partnered with the British in the Boer War to tighten imperialism in South Africa. He partnered with the British in the very, very brutal put down of the Zulu uprising.
He served in the military.
He served. He in prison when he was campaigning later. Even his entire life in South Africa, at least 99% of it, was not even campaigning for the rights of the Indian indentured labor who were of the lower caste or the subordinated castes. He was campaigning for the rights of Indian businessmen to be allowed into the Transvaal to compete with British trade.
You refer to him as the saint of the status quo. Where did his saintly reputation come from, and why is this important to take on now? You've taken on a lot of controversial topics in your life. Did you need to take on Gandhi?
I really think, how can you know these things and then allow the idea of India, and in a way he's known as I suppose he's the most saintly modern person, invoked all the time, and when you see this, is there a good time or a bad time to do it, But the point is that what I am talking about is the fact that caste in India, which, unlike race, unlike apartheid, unlike sexism, unlike economic imperialism, perhaps we haven't won these battles, but certainly they've come under international scrutiny.
We talk about
Whereas caste where, today, in 2012 there was all the protests which the world paid attention to. Good, there was a protest about the rape of the gang rape and murder of the girl in the bus in Delhi. But that year, 1,500 Dalit women were raped by upper caste men. That year, 651 Dalits were murdered. Many of them lynched. They are still made to eat shit. They are still not allowed, into the space of the so-called privileged castes. So caste has not gone away. It's just that people associated with Gandhi and yoga and vegetarianism, and underneath that, even the Indian liberal left-leaning intellectuals have invisibilized it. And there has been a very distressing misrepresentation of history by the court historians, and it is a scandal that's basically hidden in plain sight.
You talk about Gandhi's own programs as having disabled, debilitated millions of political imaginations with this bar of purity set so high. Can you talk about that a little
low,
bit?
Actually.
Okay, well,
I
talk
think
about
it's
that a little.
Well, look, when Gandhi was developing the idea of satyagraha, the soul force as it's known, and when he was, shedding his Western suit and putting on the loincloth and eating goat's cheese and all of that, he wasn't actually, the battles were not for the indentured labor or against colonialism. As I said, the battle was to allow Indian business to expand Indian traders to expand their home range, But what I say is that you cannot simulate poverty. Yeah. Poverty is not about having no money alone. It's about having no power, and he was accumulating power. But look, everyone knows, because of the Richard Attenborough film, if nothing else, about Gandhi's Salt March, which was a brilliant piece of political strategy. It was a piece of political theater. It was real mass politics. It was against the salt laws and so on. But 3 years before that, Ambedkar led what was known as the Mahad Satyagraha, where thousands of untouchables marched through the town of Mahad, going militantly to drink from the public water tank, where they had been denied all these centuries, They were beaten and scattered by the privileged castes, and Gandhi never supported that. And the Brahmins pured the tank by pouring cow dung into it, So when we talk about political mass action, first of all, we have to be clear about the radicalness of it.
Yeah.
What I talk about in this book is how the story of the conflict between Gandhi and Ambedkar actually complicates our understanding of imperialism and what it meant. For Gandhi, it was easy to do this rhetoric of, I believe in the people and I don't believe in the state, and the people are moral. And Ambedkar was in a wild panic about the fact that if the British left, the state would be in the hands of the privileged caste Hindus, and there would be no safeguards, So he crossed the line and he lobbied hard to become part of the drafting committee of the Constitution to put in some safeguards. He's very nimble in this way, very brilliant. He did, that does mean he left a confused legacy.
Ambedkar was ahead of his time on many, many things, and I'm thrilled that this book is getting new attention thanks to your introduction and the republication. You mentioned that he believed that the heart of caste was in the control of women. And as people talk about violence against women and the mobilization in India and worldwide against it, I'd love you to talk about that a little if you could.
Ambedkar, as I sort of briefly mentioned earlier, he tried to maneuver himself somehow into drafting or being on the drafting committee of the Constitution. And then, you know, he was a very brilliant man. He studied in Columbia, and so he eventually, despite his quarrels with the Congress party, he became India's first law minister. And he tried to draft a Hindu code bill in which you know, women were given the right to inheritance, to divorce. He believed that, as you said, the control of women was the key to perpetuating the caste system. But the parliament was surrounded by sadhus and the Hindu right, and he was forced to recede. He actually resigned in disgust. And it's such a strange thing, you know, that Gandhi should be revered by feminists. If you look at the things Gandhi said and did about women, it is beyond shocking.
Sleeping
you know?
with his niece in his 70s?
And I mean, much more than that, you know, and so regressive, and yet he is valorized. And Ambedkar, of course, is unheard of by people outside of India, and these things about him, even in India, people are not aware of.
You finally are, I believe, working on another novel after
Yes.
the tremendous success of God of Small Things. Is there anything you can tell us about that?
No. No. Just that I hope, you know, that I'll be. I actually am so keen to make the space around myself to finish it, because it's giving me a great deal of pleasure, you know.
Good. Well, you deserve some pleasure.
And understand. No, not that this doesn't, but I mean, it's just sometimes I feel like a sedimentary rock, you know, like I've had so many layers and layers and layers of, you know, writing this kind of stuff for 15 years now. And, you know, a novel isn't about that. It's not a manifesto, but I feel like it's all, you know, I myself am curious about what I will write and how this experience will play out.
I'm curious too, and I'm sure our viewers are too. Arundhati, as always, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Laura.
Economic motive is at the center of American war-making empire, the surveillance state. I think it's something like 75 to 80% of the surveillance budget goes to private corporations. So when you talk about surveillance spending, it doesn't go into the NSA, it goes to Booz Allen and Hamilton, or all of the different surveillance corporations around the world, especially in the United States. And if you look at, even there was a Bloomberg article from 3 days ago that talked about how the stock prices of weapons manufacturers, what the US media calls defense companies, which are weapons manufacturers, are now at an all-time high, Raytheon, General Dynamics, and Boeing, by virtue of the US bombing campaign in Iraq and Syria, which is causing a major increase in the demand for drones and bombs. Things like the Israeli bombing of Gaza, the 50-day bombing of Gaza, which is increasing the market. The more the US government engages in militarism and aggression and violence, the better these defense companies do. The more surveillance they engage in, the more the surveillance industry makes. They're all inextricably linked and always have been. Well, we've done a lot of reporting on spying that was clearly for economic purposes, whether spying on economic summits or on the Brazilian oil giant Petrobras. There's documents I published in my book where the NSA and hackers within the NSA talk about the motive for spying being not just diplomatic and political power, but also economic advantage. There has been reporting on spying on the Brazilian Ministry of Mines and Energy by the Canadian surveillance agency that happens to be the agency in Brazil of greatest interest to the Canadian logging industry. So there's no question that economic advantage plays a major, major role in why the surveillance state has been constructed and how it's used. I'd say the story that ended up being ignored was the very first one that I ever did about the relationship between the NSA and Israel, which is that the NSA turns over enormous amounts of raw, unminimized communications data about American citizens to the Israeli surveillance agency. And in fact, the public editor of the New York Times criticized her own paper for not reporting the story that we published. You can't be an American citizen that cares about what your government is doing in the world without focusing on Israel, because just as an economic matter, the United States gives $3 billion a year of taxpayer money every single year to the Israelis, on top of which they give enormous amounts of diplomatic and other forms of political protection. So everything that Israel does in terms of aggression toward its neighbors is centrally enabled by the United States. So my government is responsible for so much of what Israel does in the world. But beyond that, so much of why we are in the Middle East, why we're inextricably involved in the Middle East, is about Israel, but also Israeli aggression towards the people of that region, which is seen quite rightly as American aggression toward the people in that region, plays a major role in why there's high levels of anti-American sentiment, why there's people who want to do violence to America, which in turn is used to justify the endless war there. And so our policy toward Israel is not the only factor, but it's one of the major factors in why the United States government is involved in that region in the destructive ways that it is. When we created the idea of a new media organization, which was created in the first instance by myself, Jeremy Scahill, and Laura Poitras, diversity, racial, ethnic, gender, religious diversity was one of our principal goals. We wanted to be the most diverse media organization of its size. When we unveiled ourselves, there are a lot of different reasons why, but that was definitely and has been our biggest disappointment and our biggest failure. We've made a lot of strides in that regard because we're really focused on it, but I think the criticism is completely valid. I think that if you look at where we are now in terms of the journalists and the editors and the other people who are working to produce our journalism, it's vastly more diverse than we were 7 months ago, and 7 months from now we'll be vastly more diverse still. And I do think that the commitment that we made early on to be the most diverse journalistic outlet for our size will be one that we will fulfill.
The Moral Monday movement came to Missouri this month. What if it spread nationally and to the rest of the week? Police arrested more than 50 people in front of the Ferguson Police Department October 13th during an organized civil disobedience against police killings, including the killing of teenager Michael Brown. More than 60 days after Brown's shooting in August, his shooter, Officer Darren Wilson, had yet to be arrested. That was part of the point, but not all of it. Organizers from across the country planned the action as part of a weekend of resistance inspired by the Moral Monday protests in North Carolina, which started a year ago in protest of right-wing attacks. Among those arrested in Ferguson Monday was Cornell William Brooks, president of the NAACP, and Dr. Cornel West, along with religious leaders of what looked like every faith and gender and race. Critics were quick to call them outside agitators, of course. But there's no getting outside police killings. The actions came as a study by ProPublica revealed that across the states, black teens were about 21 times as likely as their white peers to be shot and killed by cops. And at the same time as the online activist group Color of Change kicked off a campaign to tweet the name of one black police killing victim every hour for the duration of the Ferguson protests. There'll be plenty of names. According to ProPublica, in the 7 years leading up to 2012, white officers killed a black person at least twice a week. So what next? The power of the Moral Monday movement has come from its persistence and the breadth of the alliances behind it. Anti-austerity activists teamed up with reproductive rights campaigners and union and religious leaders. They've distinct experiences, but they've made common cause. This mobilization in Missouri has seen some multi-denominational action. Many workers in the St. Louis area fast food campaign, for example, were in the streets protesting the killing of Brown since the first week. Still, it's also true that in our increasingly resegregated nation, too much ignorance continues. Whether it's willful or not is kind of beside the point. On the eve of the protests, white residents in St. Louis told the Washington Post they'd been surprised, even shocked, by the racial divisions exposed since the killing of Michael Brown. Listen, friends don't let friends drink and drive. It's too dangerous. What if white people didn't let our friends live in oblivious privilege? It's just as big a threat. What if every time someone accused the NAACP of sending in outside agitators, we said there's no getting outside police killings? What if Bill McKibben, who led hundreds of thousands to protest climate injustice in New York, stood up and said, that's me you're talking about? We don't have the same experiences, but we can make common cause. And it'll take Moral Mondays and Tuesdays and weekends, perhaps. But maybe at the end of it, we'll have a police that's as ready to arrest their own dangerous shooters as they are to arrest Cornel West. Thanks for listening. Write to me. Tell me what you think. Laura@grittv.org. Any thoughts on the Nobel Prizes 2014?
Well, look, it's a difficult thing to talk about because Malala is a brave...
Indigenous socialism collectively. This is why native property wasn't recognized, because it was collectively owned. They literally put in this, the Dawes Act, the Allotment Act, that selfishness had to be created for civilization to flourish.
So we're talking about, as indigenous peoples, revitalization of a language that was taken away from many of us.
You're listening to Radio Anu, the international flavor, the universal spice. This is Radio Anu International, cutting and clearing, renting and tearing.
Are you searching for unique handmade Black cultural crafts, t-shirts, and accessories? Look no further. Introducing your ultimate destination for the vibrant and captivating creations that celebrate Rastafari and African culture. At Black Dominion, we bring you a curated collection of exquisitely designed, crafted products honoring the rich heritage of Rastafari, Ethiopia, and the Black diaspora. With our user-friendly website, shopping is a breeze. We ship worldwide, bringing Black culture to every corner of the globe. Visit www.blackdominion.shop today and start exploring the incredible range of handmade Rastafari and Black culture. Find your inspiration, embrace your roots, and stand out from the crowd.
Welcome to Hard Talk from Johannesburg. I'm Stephen Saka. For 29 years, South Africa's national politics has been dominated by the African National Congress. But right now, the ANC is in big trouble. A protracted energy crisis is doing further damage to an economy already hit by shocking levels of unemployment, inequality, and corruption. Now, if the ANC is faltering, who is best placed to offer an alternative? Well, my guest today is Julius Malema, leader of the radical populist economic freedom fighters. If Malema were to get even a share of power, what would that mean for South Africa? Julius Malema, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to talk to you, Mr. Malema. We are speaking as South Africa is in the middle of an energy crisis. It seems set to get worse. What do you think it is doing to this country?
Well, its aim is to collapse this country and undermine the democratic project because those in power have relegated their responsibilities to who we don't know. They've not maintained the power stations. They've not built the new ones that are functional. And as a result, we are where we are.
The interim CEO of Eskom, the state-owned energy company, said yesterday that over the coming months of winter, they might get to a stage 8 situation, which means there could be power cuts for pretty much 12 or more hours per day. But you have gone further. You have said that you think the grid will collapse. In fact, you said South Africa is going to be plunged into darkness within 2 weeks. Why are you exaggerating?
I'm not exaggerating. I said this before they told you there was a stage 8 coming. The stage 8 is to prepare you that the worst are coming. And I'm telling you the truth as is. What is it that can avoid the collapse of the grid, which they've done in between? Which station have they built that is functional to its expectation? Which station have they maintained? Have they said, this one, we're closing it down, we're going to engage in major maintenance of this station? Nothing major has been done.
But your statements could spread panic. Is that what you want?
No, I'm not spreading panic. I'm telling the truth. Stage 8, they're just being polite. We're going to go, and you are talking hours, we're going to go days without electricity. It's a reality that we need to deal with, even after announcing stage 8. The manner they did. Which ANC politician have you seen panicking? Which president have you seen calling the nation into confidence about what is really happening? We hear from officials as if we don't have elected leadership of this country.
On March 20th, you declared a national shutdown. You tried to shut down the entire economy in the midst of this power crisis. Is that responsible?
That is the most responsible thing to do. Do you want me to fold my hands? Do you want me to not do anything? What will history say about me? I'm going to be asked a question, not by you, by the future generation, as to what have you done when South Africa was in a crisis. The most logical thing to do is for the president to resign. Was it in Britain where we saw prime ministers in a short space of time resigning one after another because they realized they were not about to carry the national agenda? The president is not carrying the national agenda. We need a government of national unity constituted by all of us who are not driven by political party interest, but the interest of South Africa to resolve this immediate crisis, which will affect all aspects of our lives.
National unity, you say. You also said at the time of the national shutdown, this shutdown is the beginning of a revolution. No one can stop it. No army can stop it. No police can stop it. Some of your members put out videos threatening to beat up teachers and police if they went to work. One even threatened to beat up pupils if they went to school. And you talk to me about national unity?
But that video of a person who was threatening to beat up pupils if they go to school is an old video. I think Hard Talk should have done its research to now realize that video has been resurfaced to support a certain narrative. There's no such a thing. I'm telling you, there's going to be a revolution. Let the grid collapse, and let's see what's going to happen.
Let the grid collapse.
I'm saying to you.
How do you think South Africans are going to feel hearing you say that? People who are losing their jobs, people who have no income, and you just say...
You are misinterpreting me. I'm saying to you, let the grid collapse as it is going to happen, and see what's going to happen in this country. I'm not wishing it. I'm saying it's going to happen. And you will see what's going to happen. Do you think that once the grid collapses, people are going to exchange roses with government? People are going to rise. And when they rise, there will not be any leader who will be leading them. There will be leaderless, there will be anarchy, there will be looting all over this country because nothing will be working. So if you think that I was bluffing on the 20th of March, I was just saying to this government and the people of South Africa, something ought to be done to avoid what is possibly coming, which is going to be a leaderless revolution.
That's very powerful rhetoric, but the truth is, on 20th of March, according to employers, 70% of workers across the country went to work. One political commentator said that actually the failure of the national shutdown was a, quote, humiliation for Malema.
From where we're sitting, the shutdown was successful. Nothing was operating. The South African media was at the public transport, taxi ranks, at bus ranks. The taxi drivers themselves, the bus drivers themselves have said, we showed up, but there are no people. So if you're going to listen to a desktop, possibly a racist analysis of wanting to undermine the narrative of the success of the shutdown, then that's your own baby to nest. But the reality is that nothing functioned on that day. You can go to the public broadcaster, you can go to independent media outlets in South Africa to give you the footage of the day, every corner. And what even makes me happy is that even in the rural areas, where normally the revolution never takes place, the people were out in their numbers saying, enough, it's enough.
Let's think about the lessons to be drawn from the current crisis, because what we see is a state-operated energy giant which is failing to work. It is not delivering power to the people. We have other major state-operated companies, for example, Transnet in the transport and logistics sector, which are failing the people of South Africa. One, we could look at the aviation sector, all sorts of sectors where the state has failed. And yet your message is you still want to confiscate all privately owned land, essentially nationalize all privately owned land. You want to nationalize the mines, you want to nationalize the banking sector, and these are the key pillars of South Africa's economy. You want them all in state hands, and you, Julius Malema, are saying to the South African people, elect me, and I and my associates in the economic freedom fighters will run this economy.
Absolutely. You know, 95% of South Africa is electrified. Do you know that South Africa gets water today? Do you know that South Africans, they're watching a public broadcaster? All these examples I've given you are state-owned.
But do you know that we have seen this experiment played out in other countries? I'm thinking of Zimbabwe, I'm thinking of Venezuela, and the model does not look good to many South African people who see it.
You know, it looks good. We're using it now. We were better off now owning this. It's not like I'm saying, let's go and take Eskom out of the hands of the private sector. We are owning it already. So, and then South Africans have accepted and are happy with what
You're
we have.
owning it already, and it's a complete mess.
That's why South Africans are saying, let's get proper people to go and run these institutions.
Are you the proper person?
I'm a proper guy.
I mean, I don't want to go too far back into history, but at various times you failed to actually file a tax return on time. Yeah. You've been accused of different financial offenses. You've never been convicted, but some of those charges were never brought to court. But you tell South Africans, despite your own history, you are the guy to run their economy.
That's why. That's a mind of a lazy person who doesn't do his work. You will have to refer back to 15 years. I've grown up over a period of time, built a solid political party. The only thing you can keep on referring to is what you interviewed me about it 12 years ago. Get something new, my brother.
No, I'm very...
Show a skill of a hard-working presenter who does his research. You can't falter me. Since I've made my mistakes on tax when I was very young, when I was almost 27 years old, fixed that problem. Today, I'm a 42-year-old married man with children who has taken responsibility and built a solid party to be the third largest party without the support of white monopoly capital and the owners of the South African economy. You keep on referring to old things because you are now beginning to sound like a scratched CD.
You have every right to tell me you have changed.
Tell me of me now. I've been in parliament for 10 years.
Let's take one particular aspect of your policy positions.
Yes.
Do you think aligning yourself with Vladimir Putin is going to be good for South Africa?
But that's what it is now. South Africa is in alliance with Russia, with India, with Brazil, with China. So why are you asking me as if it's some policy that is going to be implemented
South Africa right
after
now.
I took over? South Africa is in alliance with Russia now.
South Africa right now calls itself non-aligned.
In the context of the war, but these are two different things. South Africa is an ally of Russia. Now, the second question is, where does South Africa stand on the war? It says I'm a non-aligned in relation to war, but Russia remains South Africa's friend. So we cannot create confusion around there. Don't create an impression that it is Malema who's going to come and create an alliance with Russia.
But there are some very specific...
Actually, I will go beyond that. I will go beyond the friendship with Russia, and in the war, I will align with Russia, and I will even supply the weapons to Russia. Because Russia is in a war with imperialism, and any agenda that seeks to push back imperialist agendas, it's well within the policies of the EFF.
You say, quite clearly, I would arm Vladimir Putin.
Yes.
You know that the International Criminal Court wants Vladimir Putin to face war crimes charges.
It must start with Tony Blair, it must start with George Bush, it must go to Barack Obama, then it can go to Putin.
So let's get this straight. You're saying to me that your policy, if you were in power in South Africa, is quite simple. That your enemy's enemy, and it seems you regard the US and its allies as the enemy, your enemy's enemy is your friend. Never mind if he's a suspected war criminal, never mind if the UN and the ICC say they have compelling evidence of Russian war crimes. You don't care. As far as you're concerned, my enemy's enemy is my friend.
You're exaggerating, but another point which you don't want me to go there is that Tony Blair accepted that they were wrong about Saddam Hussein to an extent that he did an apology of a thug, right? You have never called for his arrest. A man admitting that I was wrong. How many people died there, killed by those people? So all I'm saying is we are with President Putin because it's not enemy of my enemy. It is an anti-imperialist agenda that says the American dominance and its allies should be undermined at all costs.
Anti-imperialism, even though Vladimir Putin is quite explicit about his desire to revive a form of empire. He says countries like Ukraine have no right to independent sovereign existence. He appears to believe that the best thing would be to revive an empire, the Soviet empire. But you're anti-imperialist?
We are anti-imperialist. That's a debate for another day. The war is not what he's talking. The war is about the expansion. And had there been a common ground found, this could have been avoided. We are not for imperialism, even if it were to come from Russia. If he does that, we'll condemn it. But we know for a fact that progressive forces such as China have also aligned themselves with Putin to try and create an alternative from the imperialist domination of the world. And that's what the EFF is about.
You admire China, you admire, it seems, Putin. What you seem to have as a vision for South Africa's future is much more along those lines, authoritarianism than democracy.
No, socialism is not authoritarianism.
So how can you describe China as progressive?
No, it's very progressive. China subscribed to Leninism and Marxism, where the working class controlled the commanding heights of the economy. And that's what we subscribe for. We are of the means of production being owned and controlled by the states. We want South Africa through the vision and the image of China, where you grow the economy, where you reduce unemployment, where you reduce poverty, and you can't take that away from China. And the state plays the central role with regard to that.
That kind of message and the messaging on Russia has seen the rand plunge against the US dollar. Hang on, we see many corporations in South Africa looking at establishing headquarters elsewhere. We see foreign direct investment flatlining in this country. Do you believe that the rhetoric you are using is good for the South African economy?
I've been doing this from when you interviewed me 15 years ago when I was young. And therefore you can't say the rand to dollar crisis today is created by this message that I've been spreading for so many years from my early ages. And then this
No, but what I'm
has been
suggesting is that the new
party-
tensions between Washington and the government in South Africa have definitely affected the financial markets.
No, it was the crisis as we see it today, as we have this conversation, me and you. It was worsened by the irresponsible utterances by the ambassador of the USA, who just recklessly, without following the diplomatic protocols, went out to make certain allegations about our country, damaging its good image, and then undermining its sovereignty in terms of choosing who its friends are. And today we see the rand being weak because of such utterances. Why would the rand be weakened by a political posture that says this is what we want to be when we take over government? We want a government that will be owned by the corrupt free. I admire China when it comes to how it deals with crime. I admire China when it comes to how it deals with infrastructural development. I admire China on how it has dealt with poverty and unemployment. How would that weaken the rand? Is that not what the investors want for all of us?
The most likely way that you can get a grip on some power in this country is by forming a coalition with the ANC after the next election. You could have a role if you were to do a deal with the ANC. Are you ready to do it?
The reality is that the EFF is the only organization that is growing, and that the DA and the ANC, the DA, which is the official opposition, ANC, which is the ruling party, are both significantly declining to a point where the DA called us the enemy number one. Why did they do so? Their own internal research tells them that the EFF has overtaken you. That's how much our policy position has attracted the people of South Africa. We are not going into coalition for positions. We are going to say anyone who wants to work with us, and we've said this before, and that's why we're not working with anyone in the local governments. If you want to work with us, you are going to expropriate land without compensation. You are going to nationalize the mines. You are going to establish a state-owned bank. You are going to make sure that we fight crime, fire by fire, to make this country a safer place. Those are just but minimal, non-negotiable points that will engage with anyone who wants to work with us.
All of that,
Non-negotiable.
non-negotiable. On that basis, it's hard to imagine you can make a coalition with anyone.
ANC was more than willing. ANC was at a point of signing with us on expropriation of land without compensation. Remember, we even put this in Parliament. How did it pass to a point where Parliament had to do an investigation if the ANC was not agreeing? We were almost at the edge of getting a deal. And some young ANC clowns decided to vote against this. But we're not going to retreat in returning the land back into the hands of our people. And don't tell me about Zimbabwe. This is going to be done through a democratic means, like we did, in consultation with all South Africans, black and white, on how best do we get the rest of our people owning the land and other strategic sectors of the economy.
You know there are some South Africans, and let us be blunt, many white South Africans who fear Julius Malema. Some of them have said to me, if Malema gets to power or close to power, I will leave this country. Do you welcome their fear, or do you want to find ways to overcome their fear?
I don't welcome their fear. Stephen, they said that about Mandela, the most celebrated Mandela. You're talking about me. They said if Mandela, a prisoner, becomes the president, who will live in this country, and they left. I was in the Vaal River the other day, looking at some of the houses that whites abandoned in 1994 when Mandela became a president. They are not scared of Julius Malema. They are scared of an independent black man who's not controlled by any white person who's not controlled by London.
Last year, you said this. It was after you'd questioned whether a particular white person, why they hadn't been located and, quote, taken to an isolated space where our supporters could attend to the guy properly. And you went on to say, you must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing because killing is part of the revolutionary act.
Absolutely.
This was last year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't say you are a revolutionary and then be scared to kill. But once you go killing people around, you are a terrorist. When you've got the support of the majority of your people to engage in war, and the majority of the people are with you, that is the revolution. It's not terrorism. And therefore, I'm not a terrorist. That's why I'm saying, at least for now, the conditions have not dictated that there should be anyone who should go to the bush and engage in war to kill. But if those conditions necessitate, will without hesitation do that. The same way the generations before us, when conditions necessitated, they were not scared to take up guns and shoot to kill. So I'm not saying anyone must be killed. All I'm saying is, let everybody come to the party. Let's build this one country and give away our privilege for the privilege of all.
Your vision of South Africa's future, will it come through the ballot box, or will it come through what you call a revolution?
It will come through the ballot box. A ballot box that produces a revolutionary party will unleash the revolution. And the revolution, when it is unleashed through democratically elected government, is the changing of the system, where you radically defeat capitalism and introduce a socialist state. We still believe in the EFF, fundamentally so, that the power to the people must be ushered in through the ballot. And nothing else must be looked at except the ballot. However, when the need arises to defend ourselves through whatever means necessary, we'll do so without hesitation.
Julius Malema, sadly, we're out of time, but I thank you very much for joining me on Hard Talk.
Thank you.
And everybody must be removed who are about the ideology or all the mentality of the capitalists who have not revolutionary. I've been informed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs before even Ondoga came that this is good, must remain there. But I found they are not there. They are the one who have been even shameful, but while our position is very good, we are not bankrupt completely in Uganda. We are very rich. I don't want somebody, any minister, make me good report. You must only tell me the truth. This I've been telling you, and now the truth is coming out. The false report you have been reporting to me is now coming out. am going to second point. As a minister, governor, high-ranking peoples, and the people of the country, they must love their leader. This is the point number one. If you go to any country, you will find that everybody must love his leader. They must love their ministers. They must love their governors. They must love their district commissioners, their teachers, their chiefs. Everybody must be loved. This, it is an education to the people. This is the duty of the minister. If I see the minister is a coward, automatically I kick him out of my office.
And of course, you know, we definitely glorify and we definitely say hallelujah and giving thanks. Salamta to each and every one. Jambo in love and harmony and happiness. And we welcome you into the nest, into the zone. Welcome you to Radio Anu, the international flavor, the universal spice. And of course, another edition of the Tiger's Nest. Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. As always, your humble host for this very exclusive and unique radio program, a program that comes to you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evening, 7 p.m., talking about Eastern Caribbean time, same as the Eastern Standard Time, Tiger's Nest program. Of course, the moment where we elevate and do something a bit differently than you do maybe on the regular day and the regular moment, the regular in and out. But this moment is where we go into education, edification, edutainment to some degree. Make sure we keep it lively. Remember that this evening you're going to be tasting a bit of Rasta Roundtable even after this program. So I'm encouraging you to keep it locked right here. Now, this evening we're going to be going into a bit of food talk. Very simple presentation, eh? Because the Tiger's Nest is about education and it's about knowledge. And this evening, I don't even want to prep it yet. Of course, I'm going to tell you where we're going, but I don't want to start to speak about it. I want to wait until the moment and I'm going to put it all in. But we're going to be talking about the benefits of coconuts. Oh, coconuts. This is the Tiger's Nest. So everything is not physical. There's always a spiritual component to our discussion. And when you talk about coconuts, you're definitely talking about Rastafari. So I'm not going to say too much more. I'm just going to ask us to get ready for the reasoning. A special Tiger's Nest as always. And we're going to keep it Idi Amin Dada. And we're going to continue to meditate. Family, get in your meditational position and get to your meditation stations. Yeah.
If I see the minister is a coward, automatically I kick you out of my office. Because I know that you have got something wrong with you. I will put another person straight. Or any governor or anybody. This I must make it absolutely clear. And even whether you hide, you will be known in the light completely. This I must make it absolutely clear. Whether you hide, you go where, you will be known completely. But this particular second point is very important. You must teach people to love their leader. This is the only most important, like any country. And the people also must love their ministers. But the loving, it is a well known in Uganda. You can't change as a minister. Number 3, determinations. You people must work with the determinations and all other peoples. you must teach them to work with the determinations. If I go sometime even in the Ministry of Defense, I will not find even some commanders there in their offices. I know this. I've been telephoning several times, checking with them, I can't find. They are in their business in Kawempe, somewhere in Kampala, what? You must put your contribution. If I found you not to attend cabinet 3 times without reason, you are out of government. Now, chiefs, number 4, chiefs and the town agents. The most importance of the chiefs and the town agents, if they are to work very hard, they will help the police, the prison, the air force, the army. This includes the military police. They will help you, the ministers. They will not make even police very busy because they know who is actually good in the towns, who is not very good in the town. If you are to use these people properly, even the police use this town agent properly. They are being paid by the government. They are not just working for nothing. And marketing here in Kampala, you must tell our women in Uganda to pull up their socks. I want to see that Ugandans work very hard. You must not make the women of Uganda very weak. They must get up quickly in the morning at about 5 o'clock. They are ready in Nakasero, preparing, ready to sell vegetable and everything in the shop. If you go to Ghana, if you go to Nigeria, you will see that the whole shops, market, everything is in Nigeria. I think you agree with me. Everybody agree. Why not here in Uganda? You must tell our women. I said that the duty of the woman is the house woman. He knows how to keep house very well. If he can do that, let me make first examinations, appoint women to be the managers of hotel, which is done. Because this is a part of the women's job. If they can keep house very well, it is exactly like their duty as a housewife. If he is well educated, he has got that brain, he is determined, he can look after the hotel very well. I want to see a woman, international hotel, very big one. Must be woman Ugandans, and I know they can do it. And you as a minister, you must back them completely. If you find any man trying to not to obey the order and everything, you can punish that person. You can remove that person. You can put loyal people to her to see that we keep up stand. We are thinking we are the first now country in Africa today who have got many women managers than other countries. We have got how many? Manager women. We have got 4 managers and we have got another 2 assistant manager. And another point here I wanted to say, there is a CIA agents through Africa, black Africans who are coming here. And you should know that spy is a criminal. To be a spy is very bad. And your case is death completely, sentence. This is, I must make it absolutely clear. If I found anybody is a spy, and any spy is found, and anybody is coming in this cover, see, I want you to see that everybody must be checked his poll tax for about 3 or 5 years. And if he is found to be spy, his case is a firing squad. He must be handed straight to military police, must be dealt with the military tribunal, because the case of spying is very serious. Anybody found is a spy, his case must be dealt with military tribunals. Once is confirmed, even military tribunals should not waste time of making law whole day discussing about one person who is a spy. Must be shortcut. If minister find him, don't even report to me completely. I don't want the ministers should wait anything which he thinks it is good for his ministry is still waiting authority for me. I don't want. Then if that you are not a minister, you are not making decisions. A minister is a person who must make a decision himself, not to wait for general mean.
Well, do give thanks to General Amin. Definitely building the vibes. Tiger's Nest. Of course, if you're just coming in, give thanks for coming in. Share the link with a friend. Let someone else know that we are in Tiger's Lair tonight. Send it through your WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, comment, share the link. Definitely we'll be speaking of this evening about the importance of the coconut. Maybe surprisingly to some, actually considered a fruit. in reality, also basically a member of the palm family, like the dates, etc., or palm food. But now it's very easy to do a program where you have the benefits of a specific food, listed out, and you could share it with your audience or share it with your congregation or what have you. But when you have a specific relationship with the spirit of a food, now I would believe all food has a spirit. Now, maybe we have to define food here, because junk food doesn't really register as food. So junk food is like an anti-prophet. The Antichrist is not Christ. Not because the Antichrist have Christ in his name mean he's Christ. He's not this type of Christ. And the anti-prophet or false prophet is this kind of prophet. They're not prophets. So to say they're false prophets and false gods and all of that, sometimes the language, you see, this is what English does. So in reality, as I said, we are dealing with the spirit of food. So junk food is not really food, because food cannot be junk. Food cannot be rubbish, because food is supposed to give to the eater nutrients to assist in the sustenance of life and longevity. That's food. Food is supposed to give you nutrients and heal you and make you well and give you energy. All of that is food. Real energy too. Food. So junk chicken and chips somehow doesn't really register as food. So the coconut now has its own spirit. Cayenne pepper has its spirit. Turmeric has its spirit. You know that? Yeah, man. Everything, these herbs that we utilize, from the moringa and the guinea hen weed, which is the kojo, the same gully root, that definitely has its spirit. Cannabis sativa has its spirit. All of these plants and foods, the papaya has its spirit. Yeah. The guinea or kinip, you know what that is? Has its spirit. In St. Lucia, they call it ackee, not the Jamaican ackee now. In St. Lucia, they call the Jamaican ackee, but they have a fruit that we refer to as guinea or kinip. In certain places, it's called shenet. That has its own spirit. What else? Whatever it is, lettuce, cabbage, spirit. The coconut, as you could see, is a plant somewhat like the cannabis sativa, the marijuana, that is highly connected to Rastafari. Just like the cannabis sativa, just like the marijuana. The coconut was once outlawed, Yes, it may not have been illegal to have a coconut in your pocket, but it was ostracized by the world of so-called health. And what that did, it murdered a thriving industry here in the Caribbean. Remember, when Morris, the bishop, took over Grenada, you have to keep in mind Grenada supplied 1/3 of the world's supply of nutmeg. A little Caribbean island that you would overlook on a map was given the whole world almost half of the nutmeg that it needs. So obviously Grenada could be wealthy several times over just on half of its nutmeg revenue alone. Just nutmeg. So when people like Ronald Reagan, the president of the United States at the time, would have invaded Grenada to kill the progress of Maurice Bishop, is because they understood and still understand that the real freedom is economical freedom, of course, coupled with moral understandings and a good philosophy of life and the universe. Oh, you have all of that well put together, knowledge of self and who you are and connecting with your ancestors, plus you're rich. No, we got to kill these Negroes here. In that same way, St. Lucia, Dominica, the same Grenada, they also had a strong and thriving, or at least getting there, coconut oil industry. This is why the coconut oil from the Caribbean is the best. In fact, if you wanted coconut oil once upon a time, you had to get it from around here. We used to use the coconut oil, and they even fool our old people off, have them using something they call lard. Lard, that's like the fat from some animal. I think it's the swine or some heifer or something, and they just put that in the frying pan and it turns to oil. Nastiness. Ugh. When we could use the natural coconut oil and create, or the natural coconuts, pardon me, and create the coconut oil. But yet still, don't get me wrong, although they were using a lot of so-called sweet oil, that was this other nasty set of oil that they would sell in the liter bottles. This is when I was very young. Of course, things have changed. You have all the brands of oils on the shelf now. Oh yeah, man. From the canola to this other fella and this other fella here, soy oil, so-called vegetable oil, which is really soy oil. There's no vegetable oil. Which vegetable do you get oil from? I'm just asking you. I'm not saying that you can't get, avocado has oil. If you want to label it a vegetable, but usually it's not labeled a vegetable. Avocado oil is beautiful. The nuts, the almond oil, the cashew oil, yeah. But you ain't getting no lettuce oil. Lettuce is a vegetable. You have carrot oil, not essential oil, you know. Oil that you use to the point I'm making, let me not go too far. The point I'm making, what you have as vegetable oil on the super makeup shelf is not no vegetable oil. Read the ingredients and tell me which vegetable has oil in there. Cucumber oil? No, it's soya oil. Canola oil. Oh my, well, that's a story all by itself if we're going to get into GMO. So now you can go in the supermarket and you have a variety of coconut oil, refined, virgin, and all sorts of stuff to choose from. It's usually quite expensive too. Definitely would cost more than the other stuff on the shelf. You have your olive oil, you have your grapeseed oil, walnut oil, almond oil, or hazelnut oil, all sorts of oils to choose from. And you'd be surprised that all the magnificent oils that are now around us It is the coconut oil that is the better of them all, as it has what is considered the fatty acids, pardon me, are medium in size, pardon me, the chain of fatty acids. So you would refer to them as medium chain fatty acids. That's what the coconut carries, unlike any other oil. So that is why you can heat it and it doesn't change the molecular structure to the point that it will damage you. Do you know you're not supposed to heat up oil? Even olive oil and all the other oil. And then you have palm oil too. Palm oil is rich in vitamin E, good for your eyes. And these oils are different type of oils. Yes, you can utilize the palm oil. You know, the Africans, the Ghanaians, the Akan people utilize the palm oil and the palm oil stew and palm oil soup and all of that good stuff. Yes, but I'm just showing you, by right, oil is not something you're supposed to heat up, especially if you're going to be boiling the oil. You boil the oil to fry something in the oil, but it's boiling the oil. Right. Now, coconut oil, that which is not the virgin coconut oil, I wouldn't call it refined. The oil that we make in the jabba pot, you want to call it refined? I more prefer to say the one that they make in the factory is refined. Good. And it's never as good as the one that's made in the yabba pot, the clay pot. Very good. Give thanks to the man priest, Jermaine. Now the oil, the coconut oil, you get your bag of coconuts and you grate that, and you know how to make the oil, don't you? Yes, you grate that down. You can get a nice grater where you bust the coconut in half and you just spin that around, and you get the coconut shaving piled high. And then you squeeze the juice out of that, and you may put a bit of water to assist it, and then you put that to boil, and that comes down and comes down and comes down and boil out till it creates that sweet smelling coconut oil that's healthy for your skin and your hair. Yeah, just check it out. A lot of the oil people fry their food in. You'd never put that in your hair. No, man. You'd never wipe that on your skin. Impossible. But the coconut oil, we use it and rub down our whole skin for massage therapy and oil our hair. We all do it. Don't you do it? I'm sure you do. Coconut oil. You take a teaspoon of coconut oil. Nobody taking no teaspoon of soy oil and them kind of oil there. No. So yes, there has been a serious conspiracy on the coconut oil industry, which obviously mean on the coconut itself in the Caribbean, to keep them poor. These people lied to the world and said that coconut oil would spike up your cholesterol levels. What a lie. I mean, I grew up hearing that. That coconut oil would raise your cholesterol. And lime would cut your nature, all kind of make-believe things. You must be saying, lime would do what? You're a subscriber. Listen, rewind it and listen to it again and try to figure out what I'm talking about. Let's move on. Not only doesn't coconut oil rise nobody's cholesterol just because of its makeup again, and it stands as medium chain fatty acids. That alone shows you that it literally takes care of the cholesterol as such, meaning that it would regulate your cholesterols and make sure that you are in good standings. So again, that war was against the coconut, just like the war was against the ganja, and interestingly, all of that is the war against Rastafari. Now again, you know, no one was really being arrested for having coconut, but the coconut now really became, at least in the Caribbean, directly related to the same Rastafari. That is why I said earlier, there's a spirit that food carries. And when it comes to a food that, you know, you have to ostracize the food and all of this kind of stuff, you can see something about the food is special. Yes. So this is why, you know, okay, for example, there is the noni plant. Everyone speaks of the noni. You know the noni, right? Okay. Around here, we used to refer to the noni plant as jumbi soursop. Jumbi soursop. Now imagine that. Oh, we don't eat that. We don't eat that. But now it's one of the most beneficial plants that they advertise today. That's the jumbi soursop, the noni. So that is to show you how we would have been easily fooled to scorn. And, you know, we used to say the noni smell funny. And we used to believe that too. Me, little old me, I never smell no noni. I just hear people say, yeah, one thing, boy, it smell bad. So when you put it in the jar, put it here, put it there. Yeah, because this was when noni was really becoming fashionable. So yeah, put it here. This is about 25 years or so ago. Eh? Yes, the noni this and the noni that and the noni that. And if your mind was not well, you know, straight in its thinking, you would think that noni actually smell bad. The thing smell good. But because it's jumbi soursop, you have to create some level of phobia to it, to the point that it's even smell bad. What a beautiful smell bad. Then now you have this other crew talking about, don't mind how it tastes bad. It's good for you. What tastes bad? Now, so noni is a jumbi. Noni smell bad. And noni tastes bad. But you have to understand, you know, we are people that spray chemicals on us. Chemicals that have some real artificial, non-authentic smell. And we call that smell good. So if that's the way we can deal with that, well then that which really smells good will smell bad. Most people that say noni smell bad, you light up your little spliffy wiffy around them. Ooh, what's that smell? Ooh. Let me just read this here quickly for you. Coconut contains a high amount of saturated fats, but these are harmless. They contain medium-chain triglycerides, which are fatty acids of medium length. These fatty acids are absorbed differently by the body. They go straight to the liver from the digestive tract and are further turned into ketone bodies. This can have therapeutic effects on brain disorders like epilepsy and Alzheimer's. This is very serious. So as I was saying earlier, as it relates to the coconut and the way that it is made up, the medium chain fatty acids, now you can see for yourself the benefits that that alone will cause, even as it relates to your mental health. Coconut is high in dietary fiber and provides a whopping 61% of fiber. Coconut fiber slows down the release of glucose and transports it to the cells where it is converted into energy. It assists in relieving stress on the pancreas and enzyme systems, which reduce the risk of developing diabetes. This is the same coconut that they were literally banning from the shelf, you know. We don't want no coconut oil around here. Coconut improves the insulin secretion and utilization of blood glucose. We read it from stylecraze.com, by the way. It controls diabetes by positively affecting the hormones for blood sugar control. This slows down the rise in blood sugar level and helps to reduce glycemic craving. Coconut benefits quick digestion. You hear that? So obviously if your food is cooked with coconut, it benefits quick digestion and other symptoms associated with digestive and bowel disorder. Obviously, Rastafari cook with coconut, you know, Rasta. Man, have some elders, if no coconut in the food, they're not into that, eh? That's why when you dub with the coconut, dub means cook, by the way. I know, dub means other things too, but cook. But when you dub, when you sail a yacht, same thing, cook a pot. When you sail a yacht with 2 and 3 dreadnoughts is coconut. It's like a dictionary here now. When you sail a yacht with several nuts, this is why you don't have to put no salt in any Yaba pot food. In fact, do you know it's a sin to put salt in the Rastaman Jabba pot food? You're not supposed to put like iron spoon and so in the Yaba pot, you know. Certain things do not cook in the Yaba pot. Although ones will cook, what do you call that stuff? Rice but by right, pasta and so. Don't cook that in Yaba pot. By right. I mean, people do all these things, you know, but even Rassis. But that's foundation I'm telling you about. I'm telling you what I came and met. All right. And then the Yaba pot is so seasoned. That's why you don't cook with the next man pot. Because the pot is well seasoned. Then you're going to put something in the pot that he don't deal with. The pot is well seasoned. Any well Yaba pot, that is, no matter how you wash it. When you sail the next yacht, the seasoning will remain deep, eh? Yeah. And then the coconut, the oil that the coconut creates in the Rastaman sauce. Different flavor all by itself. So coconut has been a integral part of the Rastafari livity for an extremely long time. The coconut is what we use to create the chalwa, the chalice. The said coconut specifically, yeah, the chalice where the water goes in, that's a coconut. You can use the calabash as well, and yeah, that's basically it, maybe 1 or 2 other things, but the coconut is the main thing that is used for the spiritual portable altar known as the chalwa, the chalice. And if you observe the coconut now too, you know, there's a whole spirit about it. To get the coconut, unless you're going to wait until it drops in its dry form, you got to climb that tree for that, eh? And it's way up, and you can obviously see that the coconut tree looks like a Rasta man. Who's going to deny that? Let me see your hands. Anybody denying this? The coconut tree looks like the Rasta man. And the coconut itself is very symbolic of the brain, eh? It's like the brain has, okay, it's mystic, it's mystic, it's somewhat inverted, but still the brain. Okay, first of all, you can see the coconut has the 3 eyes, almost like 2 eyes and a mouth. But the shell of the coconut shell, is extremely hard, like the cranium. Now, the coconut shell itself has a lot of fuel in it. The coconut shell, we burn the shell. You can cook a next pot with coconut shell. You can take at least 10 coconuts and pile up the shell and cook a whole pot with those shells alone. By lighting the shell and letting the shell catch the shell and catch the shell. That's why when you burn coconut shell, you see it let off this almost like a burner, because the coconut shell has a lot of fuel inside of it. It is not something to waste. We waste a lot of things, eh? The coconut itself, the meat, when it gets dry and oily, You could light it like a candle. If you take the coconut meat from a dry coconut and dice it up into cubes, not too small now, maybe, you know, size of a fingernail or something like that, and you put it aside in a cube form, by the way, and you put them to dry. You could do it inside, or you could do it outside. They dry coconut outside on the roof in different Caribbean countries, the same countries I mentioned earlier, St. Vincent, Dominica, St. Lucia, that they're well known for that, drying the coconut to make the oil. But you see that same coconut, when it gets real oily, that you can put your hand and rub it, and then the oil already comes on your hand. If you light that, even if it's with a match, and place it on, you know, somewhere that it wouldn't burn anything, that would light, that will stay lit, maybe for half an hour or more. That little cube of coconut is filled with so much oil that it can keep a fire burning for at least half an hour or more. A little cube, and then you take a next cube and just put it next to it and light it, and it'll continue. I myself, Rastafari, would have kept my little hut lit for the whole night using that technique. That's, let's say, decades ago. So I know what works. That's a serious thing. That's to show you how much oil is in a coconut, the shell and the meat. We're not even talking about the water. I think we know the benefits of the water. That's why in Jamaica, they say that coconut water wash off your heart, clean your heart. So the brain now, see the brain, the coconut's way up there in the top of the tree, right under the locks, the brain. That's why the coconut is like the skull. And inside your brain, you have gray matter and white matter. And remember, the brain is inside of water. Now, as I say, it's a bit inverted because the water is, you know, inside a kind of how the white matter. But you still can get the point, how the coconut is very symbolic to the heavens. And this is why you could see clearly saying here that the coconut assists even when it comes to, you know, the mind, the brain, and helping ones that have epilepsy and Alzheimer's. Imagine if you eat coconut every day, which we do, and drink coconut water every day, natural thing, that will definitely assist you in your move forward. Speaks also of the anti-aging properties that coconut have, the boosting of the immune system. Coconut is well known for doing that, and treating abnormal, pardon me, behaviors in individuals as well. Imagine, well, that really returns back to the brain, and of course, boosting your energy and overall health. So that is really the whole aspect of coconut. Helps to prevent skin cancer, you know, helps to prevent dry skin and dry hands, so to speak. It keeps the skin youthful. Coconut promotes blood circulation. This is serious. And coconut also can help to treat oily skin and these different things. So even what is known as the hushi, if one understands the coconut itself, when you rip the fiber away from the actual shell, the fiber, you know the fiber, of course, I believe, you know, especially if you're around coconuts. That fiber itself is also very, very valuable. That is used in many places when it comes to the whole aspect of filtering water. That is very, very interesting. Filtering water. That fiber literally can do that and does that. And then the coal now, the coal that the coconut creates. I'm sure many ones would use what they call activated charcoal. Okay, now you see the acacia tree. That is what we use here in the Caribbean to make charcoal. So we have a specific technique where we put the fire in the earth and put the wood in the earth with the fire and just make it bake. And then after a time, we take it out and you have charcoal made from acacia wood, because we have a lot of that around here. And you can use other woods as well, logwood, etc. Now, the coconut shell, when you burn it, it creates a coal all by itself. Maybe not to burn again, but if you grind that into dust, you would have created your own activated, seriously activated charcoal there. Obviously, remember we're talking about something that fights bacteria, good for oral hygiene. The coconut, you use that same charcoal and you brush your teeth. Extremely beneficial during pregnancy, helps to control acidity and heartburn. As I said earlier, improves blood cholesterol and prevents urinary tract infection. So the same reasons why an individual would use regular activated charcoal is the same reasons why you would use that of the coconut. And this is something you can do for yourself. You can create this for yourself. You can get the coconut shell and burn it and let it burn away and just eat the charcoal. If you're a person that use your steam chalice or your chalice and you use the coconut shell regularly and you have children around you, you don't even have to tell them anything. They would pick up that and just start to eat that. I know that for a fact. They would just pick it up and start to eat it as if it's instinctively inside of them to eat coconut shell when it's burnt. Yeah, man, that's anciency there. And of course, that will help to kill bacteria and clean out the stomach and all these beautiful, beautiful things. So again, this is why, as I said, the Rastaman have a special connection with the coconut. The Rastaman have a oneness with the coconut. You don't know the coconut water is so powerful that it can replace the blood in cases of emergency or be infused into the blood, something of the sort. I'm not no medical MD, but I know what I would have read in their journals. So that alone is showing you that the coconut and the coconut water and the coconut everything and the coconut everything is so powerful. A serious superfood. People talking about superfood is the coconut, energizing you. As I said, we would have talked about the oil. Then, of course, we kind of run through the water and the shell and the meat in different forms, depending, and of course, the young meat. And then the young water is that which cleans the bladder. I'm sure many ones know of this. And then again, the coconut in its fullness, the tree represents Rastafari, represents the Rastaman. So we give thanks for another mighty plant that would have been with Rastafari throughout its ages and throughout its tribulations and throughout its triumphs. We speak of the coconut, and of course, it's a very powerful plant and really also a plant of meditation. So, we're very thankful for even that. So yes, family, give thanks. You keep it right here. Radio Anu. Rasta Round Table coming up. We'll have Brother Cypher Selassie, Ras Isern. We'll have definitely with us Rasai Adonis and Comadred. Ras Kwame should be coming through as well. And we will be continuing the reasoning from the presentation given by Brother Cypher Selassie. as it relates to the astronomical readings. I'm sure many of you would have seen that presentation on YouTube. Well, will we continue in the reasoning tonight? Not on YouTube, at least not tonight. Right here on Radio and keep it locked. I give thanks if you know your Bible and you do not know your history. Knowledge of your Bible will become a mystery. Of course, you know, it takes some realize. You realize the real lives that are amongst us. Selassie'S. Yeah. Rastafari. That's it. You're listening to Radio Anu, the international flavors of universal spice.
I ain't no joke. I used to let the mic smoke. Now I slam it when I'm gonna make sure it's broke. When I'm gone, no one gets on, cause I won't let nobody press up and mess up the scene I set. I like to stand in the crowd and watch the people wonder.
Are you interested in learning ancient astronomy, archaeoastronomy, or astrotheology? Well, the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge is now offering certified courses in the field of astronomy, covering all the above mentioned. Sign up now for our online courses or visit us in Antigua, in the Caribbean, for 7 days and 7 nights of practical underground research, plus archaeoastronomical observation on Green Castle Hill. You will learn how to identify the stars, the constellations, and the planets, as well as their makeup and their value. This will be a studycation. Enroll today by visiting our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or sending us an email, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, or search us out on TripAdvisor. The Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge, Ancient Astronomy, Archaeoastronomy, and Astrotheology, the wave of the future.